Okay. Yeah, there we go. Hi guys, GunGamers podcast episode 31. That's the right number. Here with my co-host Eric. How's it going, buddy?
Oh, it's going amazingly. I have whiskey and we have guests. Who are
Yeah.
our guests?
Our guests are other Ian and Max from Grimnir Tactical. How you guys doing?
What's up, everybody?
Going on, everybody?
Yeah.
So you guys go by Doc and Rabbit for your call signs?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Awesome. So if people are curious who what their Instagram handles are, it would be Doc_Grimnir, correct?
That is correct.
And then Rabbit_Grimnir. So if you want to go follow these dudes on Instagram and learn more about what they do and see all their pretty pictures.
Yeah,
that's right.
So the reason we invited you boys on here tonight, other than to behold your wonderful visage, is actually because I really want to talk about your guys' games and the games that you guys run and game design and airsoft in general. So, yeah. So why don't you start by telling us how you guys got into like event hosting or event promotion or game design? Like, how did you get started?
So we were a team. We started on paintball. I think like a lot of people. We started out and we just played like hardcore scenario games. We do like the Invasion of Normandy game, or we did for a long time, for like 11 years. And we got into airsoft because like we got to a point where we went to the speedball, and then we started wanting to get back more into like a tactical, like realistic kind of feel to everything. We started gravitating back towards that. And our buddy sent us a video. I don't know if it's from an MSW or something, but it was like a video of a night fight with like night vision and tracer rounds, and we all saw it and we were like, this is ridiculous. So we went to our first event was down, it wasn't MSW, it was at Camp Shelby. Actually, I think you guys might have been there.
Yes, I remember meeting you guys at that one because I was the asshole in the pink shirt in the SUV who was trying so hard to get you to buy Wolf Cola.
No. Yeah, I remember that. We stopped you. We stopped you at the traffic stop.
Yep.
Yep. We were searching the vehicle, and you guys come like humming up the road. I'm like, those dudes definitely want to blow us up. They're not coming into this. We're turning them around. And then Logan still talks about that, by the way. He thought you guys were friggin' hilarious. So that was our first MSW. And when we left, we were like, that was awesome. That was great. And we start talking. We're like, when we start out, we were just gonna try and do more of like a team, like go to events, review it. But the more events we went to, we were like, man, like some of the way that some like players get engaged and what actually happens in the game. We were like, we felt like we could try and bring something and take that next iteration, right? Like take stuff and like basically try and take it to the next level. So I think I bought the URL Grimnir Tactical like on the drive home from Camp Shelby. And I started like getting the Squarespace site up because again, like we were just doing reviews and stuff. And then I think it was an event like a couple months later we went to, and we were like, yeah, we can absolutely do this. And that's kind of how we got started. So we took, that's kind of, Ian, fill the gaps, but that's a really small condensed, that's how we started.
Yeah. I mean, that's really kind of just, I guess, the beginning of a very, very, what feels like long journey. I mean, it's only been 3 years at this point, but
it's not.
Yeah, just over 2 years since that event, and then 3 years since you guys like really started getting into airsoft.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, just about. I mean, you should be honored. I mean, Wolf Cola and that whole interaction we had legitimately was our first interaction that we had as individuals. So I think that's something that you should be very proud of.
Yes.
So, I mean, things like that, like Max said, we went to these events, we saw how players were being engaged, we saw what the community within these organizations were like, we saw what people were asking for as a player to producers, and then we also saw some instances where people would ask things repetitively and nothing would change, and you could see that people were like, you know what, we want more, we want something, and we have this really original outlook on things, and we have I'm confidently able to say this, we have a very talented team that has a lot of different talents in different areas. So we all kind of pulled our strengths together to try to put something out there that was not original. So that was really kind of that birthing of an idea that really just kind of led to something that is getting bigger than we kind of ever thought it would. I think we're on a good path to continue to grow. But yeah, I think that's kind of the motivator that made us want to be a part of something like this.
Yeah, and it's super cool to hear a story like that, because I remember I only got super into event hosting, which I'm still like not hosting it on like a huge level. I do a lot of local games, but how I got into it was because I went to a lot of games that were hosted by Kyle, who's another GunGamers contributor who's not on here tonight, but he's one of the he was the guy who like really took me under his wing and like really helped me learn about game design and like all these kind of different things. And then I took like what I learned from Kyle and then went like, okay, he does things this way and wants to offer this type of experience. Now, where can I go next from there? And it sounds like it's a very similar type of iterative design process of, we saw, you know, these things that other people are doing. How can we iterate on that and offer something new?
Yeah, and I think that's just the natural progression of like anything, right?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
This is how everything works. You know, someone goes and they're like, "This is fantastic," but then everyone has, or certain individuals have like a different spin on it. You know, like I think, and I know you wanted to nerd out about, you know, game design and stuff. I think like what became central for me, right? So like,
yeah,
my role in Grimnir is I'm the narrative and game design like lead. So like anything contextually that you see, like the narrative, the story, the setting, that's from my brain. Like the initial mechanics, so I want to be very clear, like the whole Grimnir team, like when we craft our events, we do it together. But like my job is to come up with like some of the mechanics. And I use, you know, I'm a huge video game nerd, like Mass Effect and Destiny and Elite Dangerous, all of it.
Talking my language.
I just went through 1 through 3 on the new Legendary re-release, and I'm like halfway through Andromeda. And I'm starting to run out of gas. So but we'll put that over here. Fantastic. Favorite game series of all time.
And just
Oh, dude. Yeah, Elite Dangerous, fantastic.
So I see where the sci-fi inspiration theme came from.
Absolutely. Well, you know, dude, the sci-fi thing is like so that's the other thing. Like when we looked at what way people were doing, like there were some different kind of settings and stuff, but by and large, it was a lot of tan versus green, Navy SEALs versus, you know, Spetsnaz, or you know, you're fighting right, and that's dope, and there's wonderful stories. But for me, the crux of it came down to, and this happened back in paintball, players, like, we asked the question, like, why do people, like, when you go to airsoft events, why do people just run off and do their own thing? Like, why is there so much chaos? Because a lot of these events have like very clear objectives and there's very clear things to do on the field, but people just kind of devolve into like a pew pew fest, which is fine. But I felt like players wanted more, and that's where the story comes in. And our goal is to create the connective tissue, because our theory is that when you give people context, it gives a reason as to why they're doing things in the game, and it helps actually create, like, bring that level of immersion I think a lot of people look for in airsoft events. It brings that to the forefront. So like we spend a lot of time. That's why we do the videos we do. You know, there's an archive and there's a timeline, like the amount of time we put into the crafting, like the history of like the universe. There's still more to come. Like that's why that's so important, because that sets the context for everything we do. And what we've seen is players really buy into that, and they're into it, and it creates a much cooler environment in game. So that I think that was like our big differentiator and the aha moment that we had in our initial like foundational design, you know?
Well, and I think there's a lot of players a lot of airsofters are very afraid to say that airsoft is LARPing for some reason. Yeah, I know, it's very silly, but I think there's a lot of people who, whether they realize it or not, that's really what they're looking for, is that extra level of immersion in LARP, which is why things like, you know, Milsim West Insurgency, you guys, and now like Omega Productions, like those types of events have come about because there's a market for that. Like, look at how fucking huge the Ballahat games are that Chris hosts with Revelations.
Yep.
It's also one of those things where you, as a player and as players, which is where we started, I think it's really good to see that because we're players, we do have a feeling and we do have some foresight as to what players may want to see, because we go, well, we would want this. So we kind of put that in there. But the story and providing a why as to why people are doing things in our events opposed to just go do it. People are getting like emotionally connected to our story. Like we get DMs all the time. Like I have never seen someone so loyal in an airsoft game. Like we have the CFI and the IGC. Those are our two main factions. They fucking hate each other. Like they literally
They
talk
so much shit.
on each other nonstop. And it's
I
like,
mean, I have seen some of that with like UFS versus Cost at AMS, which like that I don't get because AMS is like not that many people know the lore of AMS, but those two factions fucking go at it. I feel like when you actually have some lore, it feels more appropriate.
and the lore is very important to us. I mean, that's pretty much the foundation this all started on, was how can we take this amazing story that came out of Max's brain, which, I mean, Max, is it safe to say that these were going to eventually be books?
And that was the idea. They were going to be books eventually. I took the idea and I was like, let's shift it. So they were like books or something, yeah?
So they were books, and then we were like, hey, let's make this a real world thing that people can actually be a part of and experience and actually develop with. So I think that's something that's also really cool about the whole war is like our foundation is built off of this story, and that story is resulting in some cool gameplay and some cool events that people are going to have memories of, and you're going to build loyalties.
Well, and what I like about it is that there are so many like people who, because I think you guys did it right in terms of this. There's a lot of people who have a story idea and try to turn it into an airsoft game and don't because they forget that like a story isn't a game design. Whereas you guys actually took the time to be like, okay, we have a story idea. Now, what kind of game mechanics does that lend to?
Yep. And I think the thing we did was like a lot of the lore happens pre the event series, right? It's not that the players are literally writing like, okay, full disclosure, like there's like bullet points that I have, like big bullet points. Like I know things that players are going to get to, and there are certain things that like in the story we're going to like try and shepherd them towards. Like the path is different. The end results in certain areas might be, set, but it's all those particular like flashpoints are all to enhance the player's experience. Like they're badass things. And there's things like right now that are happening that players aren't even aware are happening, to be totally honest. Like there are storylines that are currently going on that players are part of that they don't realize they're part of right now. And we are like, I think that when we start like unraveling those, players who've been following the story from the start are going to be like, oh fuck, like that was something I did. I didn't realize that I did that. And this whole thing came together. So we're super pumped with that. And I think, like you said, like story alone, just like story alone doesn't make a good game. Just like an AO alone doesn't make a good game. Sure, shit helps, but like you can have a badass AO, and if you don't have the right balancing and mechanics, it's going to be a bad time. You're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, you have to have all the pieces in place.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a recipe. It's not one single, there's a secret sauce, and I feel like everybody's trying to find it when it comes down to producing events. And you have to have so many different elements that are obviously positive elements to really create what would be considered like a perfect airsoft event, which as people, we're trying to do that.
Well, and then you've also got, the old adage that there is no perfect pasta sauce. There are perfect pasta sauces. Because then you got to figure out like who you're catering to and to what degrees.
Yep. And that's been really interesting. Like, so Radio Silence, our first event, was like a pretty traditional mill sim. There were a lot of like dynamic mechanics we put in there. Like like our buddy Wes, who's like our mad scientist, along with Logan, they made these hacking terminals, and like if you failed them, it dropped a grenade on you. And players dug that. But it was very traditional. Captivist was like we went full sandbox open world with that, and it's just interesting to see. Like we didn't realize, like Logan who ran the CFI was like he was bewildered because players were just happy looking for hacking signals. They were perfectly content just wandering around the AO, not shooting each other. And we were blown away. Just like at the end of the event, like our next episode, Brimstone, was just going to have the two main factions. But when we said that, the Fascist group and Crypto Kings, those players were like, oh, I don't want to go then. And we were like, wait, what? Time out. Like, wait, you just played one game. It's still our game. They're like, no, I want to play for this faction. I was like, oh, so that like consistently, and you'll probably agree with me, consistently the thing that's just blown us away is how quickly everyone's latching onto their factions. It's wild.
Like,
absolutely wild.
Legitimately, the people on the Fascist group and the people on Crypto Kings, they're going to be fighting under the CFI at Brimstone, so they will still have the staff members that were leading them, but they're going to be technically under the CFI. But like we legitimately had to change part of the story to add them in there because we were like, you guys are so loyal, you're actually not going to come. We're like, all right, let's figure out a way to make this happen. We obviously want those people to be able to go to the events.
Yeah.
We just didn't think they'd be like, I'm not going if it's not HG or Crypto Kings. Like, fuck that. So we kind of called an audible on there, and now there's tickets for both.
Because I think for a lot of these types of events where the LARPing is very actively encouraged, some people like to carry like their characters over and
Yes.
feel like they're still living in that world.
Yes.
Like with Mass Effect, where you carry your
Yes.
save over from game to game.
Yes, absolutely, and that's so I'm like the choice and carryover from Mass Effect is absolutely an inspiration when I started setting the foundation that we've been building this up. Like the idea is that, and so a good example. Our games, they are handcrafted, every single one of them. We might have a theme we're going for each of them, and a lot of that is like there's a lot of factors, right? Like so you're taking, the number of players is a factor that so there's certain elements you can't kind of solidify until you get like your final roster or like a good idea for like where everyone's going to be. The AO is a thing, right? Because the story has to kind of match what you're doing in the AO. But for the big thing that carries over from all of our games is we try our best to take the elements that happen in the events that happen and they influence what's going on. So like for Radio Silence, when Rabbit got captured, right? So the CFI ran a night raid on the IGC fob and a couple of guys downed Rabbit and we were able to pull him in and they captured him and we kind of all looked at each other as a staff like, actually I can probably show you. This is a picture from when that happened. You probably can't see it very well. But that's me
framed on your desk.
That was one of his Christmas presents from me.
One of my Christmas presents.
Oh, that's great.
So when that happened, we were like, fuck it, let's roll with it. And we actually gave the CFI a chance to get him back, but like they didn't. So we were like, screw it. And we actually changed the last like morning of that entire event to match that scenario. We did certain things. We called an audible essentially. And when it was over, that's how Captivist came to be. Like we had talked about doing a prison escape, but not for event number 2. Like no fucking way. We were
But
like,
it
okay,
happened
yeah,
organically.
exactly.
It was organic, which is beautiful, which is so cool because people fucking actually felt they were like, I'm a part of this.
Yep.
And our return rate on people that were at Radio Silence and Captivist was like,
it was pretty close to 100. It was close. It was pretty close.
And I think that events like that happen organically, because you're always trying to find that right blend of scripted versus organic. And like you have to script things because otherwise a lot of players won't go out and find out what the hell they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
But then like when the organic stuff comes up, like I've always found it best no matter what the event format. Sometimes if a really interesting organic thing is happening, just let it ride.
Yeah. I think the trick there is to make it so players can't tell the difference. They can't tell the difference between what's scripted and what you're intending for them to experience versus like what's organic. So let's be clear, Captivist was 0% scripted. So that was like there was no script to that game. When we talked and met as a staff, like when we did our staff briefing, we were like, okay, we would prefer if Ian doesn't get out before X time, but if it happens, I mean, fuck, it happens. Well, and we had an end game phase all set up. But the whole thing was organic, which, had positives and had negatives. We can talk about those. I think it's, I'm more than happy to talk about, the good things that happened as well as, the things we learned from. But like the Radio Silence had a mix, and I think Brimstone's going to be kind of a mix too. Like we are trying to, just the story we're telling is going to be a little bit more. It's more of an invasion story, right? So the IGC's coming in there, and they're out for blood this time. That's kind of the whole concept behind it. Is they lost big in Captivist, so they're getting let off the chain, and it's time to fuck everything up, destroy everything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like a retaliation, like
exactly.
when a world government gets their shit fucked up in real life.
Kind of stepping back to what you're saying about it not being scripted whatsoever. One of the things I've kind of noticed, having been to both events that are super heavily scripted, where it's very clear that this entire motherfucker's on rails, compared to events where I've, either worked at or I've been to, where it's not necessarily like, it's more like a professional wrestling match where it's like, there's a determined outcome, but the way you get there is kind of free form and up to the individual participants and the people running the event. I've kind of noticed that the more successful events and the events that are kind of, more well received are generally a little bit more free form with Eric's favorite thing, emergent gameplay.
Yep.
It's my favorite word.
Emergent.
Emergent gameplay.
Emergent gameplay.
When all the systems of a game come together in
educated
unique
words.
and interesting ways to create organic outcomes, not necessarily predicted.
Right, and I think the one thing that, like, to your point, real Ian, not fake Ian, not my Ian, real Ian. The thing that's I think we flipped that. So, like, the idea is that the end result in our games is slightly more emergent, whereas some of the things during the game to put the players in the positions to make those decisions, that's where we tend to put scripted events, because, like, the end result, if you think about it, right? Like, let's take the Iterative events. Like, we go to them as often as we can. I think we're going to try and hit up September's. But, like,
be sure to come listen to my shitty black metal band.
Sweet. Let's do it. Wow. Okay. So, I think that the outcome is usually a fight in that town. Like, when you go to Panthera, you know you're hitting that town.
Yeah, that's kind of the
which actually
accepted end, but yeah.
Well, it kind of is, but they changed it up at and this was something I liked, and I kind of hope they do it again. They changed it up at the one I went to in November of 2019. I think it was Saratov 3. Yeah, Arctic Saratov, as it's become called.
You read that one more, Ian? Yep.
Yeah, where it was fucking 20 degrees at night.
I don't want to talk about it. It was fucking brutal.
Yeah, it was a hard game, but we actually had the final firefight up on top of the tallest hill in the AO.
That sounds awesome.
That was badass. Awesome. I really liked it.
Awesome. That's awesome. I think, but the example is that, like, trying to put the players in the position where they're making that final choice. Like, that final choice is usually but it's more about, like, okay, let's put the players, let's kind of, like, let them do some rope stuff. But then, like, that last fight, like, where that fight happens, like, how it happens, like,
that's kind of like,
that's where we try and, like, open it up for players fully. Because then that determines, like, all that absolute, like, 2-3 hours of chaos can change the entire context for the next game, right? Depending on where everyone falls. But there's a lot of time, and, like, we like controlled chaos. But one thing we learned from Captivus is that it's not good for, in our opinion, for, like, every single kind of faction. So, like, while that model of, like, full open world worked really good for Rebels, it didn't work as well for the military faction, right? So
yes.
So we're, like, for Brimstone, and that's a great lesson, because Captivus is only event number 2 for us. So, like, from a design perspective, making sure that the military faction, no matter what the rest of the format is, they have that tight control. That's kind of, it's a balancing game, and it's learning, and it's all about not being too dogmatic, and making sure, like, you are flexible. That's kind of where we're trying to come from.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that mentality, especially when you're, because, like, it's one thing if you're running, like, a hard mil sim where, like, everyone is, in squads, platoons, super tightly controlled, chain of command, like, all the way through. But when you're actually trying to give people on an individual level their own ability to, like, role play, that's when you really have to be able to call those audibles and be like, all right, how are we going to do this differently, depending on X, Y, and Z factors? And at that point, you almost kind of have to have, like, branching paths kind of pre-thought out, or at least some, like, cards in your pocket that you can pull out and have some tricks.
No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. But I think that even at those events like the Milsim West or MS or whatever, when it's considered a Milsim where it's everyone's in squads and everyone has their own individual units, having the staff members embedded as whoever is cadre, having a little bit of freedom and, like, the ability to make those audibles and make those calls to be like, hey, this is what's going on, and I feel like this would be a little bit better for, like, either my guys or my faction, and it would, probably.
Oh yeah, that's always super important.
Yeah, it adds a lot of it adds an important part of the
game. I think it's good that with our events and everybody that's obviously a staff member that's embedded with the team, everybody's aware of kind of not the end goal, because the end goal is completely up in the air for how people will actually participate. But everybody
spirit.
Yeah, everybody has an understanding of, like, this is how it's supposed to feel. Is my group feeling like this right now? No. All right, what can I do to make that better? And, like, while we say the term that was coined as organized chaos, sure, we have people that are doing very individualized things that are out there to make the story. We want every single person at our event to have an experience where they can feel high speed at some point. So, everybody should have a really cool moment. The best part is when you drive home and you're talking about the cool shit you were able to do. So,
Yep.
While we still do have that structure where we do have squads and we do have, platoons or cells, whatever we call them, based off your faction, we still have a chain of command, but that's really just to kind of keep tabs on an ever-evolving type of event. So
also keep tabs on the players, because
because
ultimately, you got to make sure no one's dead.
Nah, they're fine. They'll figure it out. There's a highway nearby. They'll find the road at some point.
Yeah, they signed a waiver. Screw them.
Yeah, they're fine. Totally cool.
Waivers are magic.
Yeah, they are. It starts getting real cold Saturday night, and someone starts realizing that grandma's real sick and they need to go see her. Oh, man.
Fucking love it.
It's great.
I would imagine your events have a pretty, I don't, because you guys are out there all weekend, but, I don't think it's, there's not a lot of rucking and shit, right? Is there?
It
depends.
Yeah, funny. Again, I think our events are reflective of the stories that we're trying to tell, which is why every event, in 2022, we're trying to expand the portfolio to include different types of events. So having something a little bit more a little more casual, where it's it's not as complex or narrative heavy, where it's just yo, you're gonna go and you're gonna play at this AO and you're gonna slam on this town. It's just a straight up fight between these two factions in the broader war. So it still takes place in the context of the story, but it's not following the main characters. If you get what I mean, it's like a side story.
It's like a battle that's happening.
Right, that's happening elsewhere.
Yeah,
right?
a secondary event type in the same way that Mills
exactly.
Insurgency.
Well, and Omega was going to have one until things happened.
Yeah. So we're trying those events. Yeah, not we probably won't go through the night. They're you'll still stay on the field, and there will be narrative reasons as to why you're not fighting at night. We've thought those through, but not as much rucking, a little more loose. The real showstopper narrative stuff, whether there's a lot of rucking and shit, I think that depends. Brimstone, I'd put your rucking shoes on. Get ready to walk, because we've all been to Panthera. There's lots of hills. It's very big, but it's a dope AO. And
I fucking love Panthera.
I love Panthera. And they're awesome. Working with them, they've been so awesome. I gotta say, they've been so good.
What was your turnout for the most recent event that you guys did? Was it a Captivist or
225? Captivist.
Nice.
Okay, yeah,
that's a good turnout,
solid, man. Okay.
Yeah, we grew from at peak we fielded 110 at Radio Silence, and for a lot of people, a lot of those folks were first time 40 hours. That was the first 40 hour they'd ever done.
Nice.
It was awesome, and we had great turnout for that one, and we did that September of last year, so COVID was still a thing. So the fact that we still had that turnout for our first event, definitely a crisp high five on that one. We were super proud. Captivist, we almost tripled capacity. You know what I mean? It was, the growth is insane.
We could have kept going too. We
stopped. We sold that event out 2 months before the event, and we stopped. We were screw that. We can't do it. We won't. The fee, literally the AO cannot handle more players. There's no way. No way.
Well, and you bringing up the fact that that was their first time doing a 40-hour event. That's one of the cool things I've noticed with Omega Productions and fucking Milsom West Insurgency, is that not only is it their first time doing a 40-hour event, but a lot of these people are not coming from Airsoft with those more free form type of
That's
events.
Especially true with Omega. People not coming from Airsoft, coming over for the LARP stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fucking great.
That's growing. That's growing. That's growing the community, and that's important.
Have you guys noticed a similar thing? Are there a lot of people coming in from LARP and non-airsoft stuff, or is it a little bit more more airsoft because of just, I don't know.
I would say as of right now, it's a bit more on the airsoft side, but I think there is a distinct there's a line between airsoft players and hardcore milsim players, and you can see that when you go to our events. You can see the people that have been to 40-hour events, and then you can see the people that are showing up with even though we tell them not to, they're showing up with totes and 4 people tents.
Yeah.
And listen,
but that's a learning. That's a learning experience. Right?
learning-
It is. It is a learning
it's learning.
experience. It just sucks to watch them learn because, you really want them to have the best time possible, and sometimes they don't.
exactly.
I mean, I think that like to your point, like you can definitely see it. But I will say this: the players that had been to Radio Silence that came back to Captivus, you saw that they did learn. You saw they were packing lighter.
There was growth, yeah.
And that's really awesome for us. And as far as like the LARPers, like I think that to Ian's point, it definitely does go more on the airsoft side. But the two criminal factions we introduced, they were very LARPy. I hope they listen to this, but Moo Airsoft, those dudes, like if you've ever played Borderlands, it was basically those like Borderlands enemies in there.
Yeah.
Like, we gave them control of like what we called the slums. Oh, bye, Ian.
Uh-oh.
Fake Ian. He'll be back, maybe.
I hope so. Oh, there he is.
Sorry.
Weird. But we gave them control of the slums, and like when I marched the IGC in, they were like hanging out of windows, like screaming at us, like throwing
Just chirping
crap
you the whole time. That's
It was
great.
awesome. And every time anyone walked through there, they were just they took it, and they were very LARPy. The Crypto Kings, the hacker group we have a system in place where you can actually hack stuff with your phone or at hard terminals, and we're building it out. So like, we're working on projects so that the hacking extends to other elements of the game, things I'm not going to talk about right now, but you can manipulate things on the field for real. Like you can hack stuff, you can potentially hack like lights or maybe automated turrets. I don't know, like
That'd
things
be
like
super
that.
fucking cool. Having like the actual ability to interact with that stuff, and no other event promoter is fucking with stuff like that.
That's our focus. Like we want to take all that cool shit you can do in video games, and we want to make it as close to that as possible. We want players to feel powerful.
And I think the sci-fi aesthetic you guys go for really enables a lot more of that.
Yeah, for sure.
It does. I mean, it gives you more creativity. It gives you a little bit more of a broader spectrum to play with. So when you're sitting there and you're like, hey, we want to make some automated turrets that you may or may not be able to hack into. Not saying that's something we're doing, but I'm saying maybe it is something.
It's been brought up a couple of times now, so
no, it's a really strong example.
So when you have, I mean, it just, in my opinion, it fits. It fits right in with like the whole sci-fi type of situation, and that's kind of like we found a little home in this time frame that we've obviously started this story. And once again, it goes all the way back to the story. It's all about the story. So
the other thing is, like, to your point, fake Ian, is that like we also like you said, it doesn't stop us from doing anything. Don't shake your head at me. Don't shake your head at me. But like literally, like when we were like, okay, when we were considering doing something more traditional, like we're like, nah, because there's certain limits you can do in those real world universes, right? For our universe, if we're like, hey, you guys want to do like a space zombies game, it's like totally feasible. We're like, yeah, fuck it, whatever, space zombies, aliens, like whatever, like we can literally do whatever we want, and because it's kind of just loose, it doesn't matter. We can, as long as I can narrate my way out of that corner, we're fine. Whatever we want to do, I can talk my way out of it.
I love that because again, it's just such an underused type of setting and type of theme. And there's plenty of modern milsim. Post-apocalyptic is very popular, and those things are popular for a reason. They're very good. But now you got me thinking about like space zombies with automated hackable turrets. I'm like,
That's
shit,
nice.
man.
You never know. Like
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite airsoft game on the Citadel.
Oh my god! Thank you. I love it. This is my favorite turret on the Citadel. I love it. Yeah, dude. I mean, and like Ian said, we're not like saying that's going to be a brimstone or anything, but that's the kind of shit. That's where our mind is right now. Those are the kind of small projects we're experimenting with. We're really pushing to hit on technology, like bridging that, because like
an actual interactive environment.
Yes, and the big thing is like let's be real, guys. Like if you look at any other activity, nothing gets you closer to a video game or that kind of power trip as airsoft. It just doesn't exist. Right.
Fuck, that's where the name GunGamers came from.
There you go. There you go. I mean, like, it just, so it's wild to us that like no one's like taking that step like as hard. in this area to try and really gamify. I hate that term, but whatever, I'm going to use it. To try and gamify it even more.
It is a good term for this.
Yeah, it is. It does accurately describe what's going on, but that is something that's the only other event that I can really think of that incorporates technology at all is going to be DFE with their Desert Fox events app, and then
but that's trying to emulate like the gameplay style of Battlefield, which
exactly
is cool, but is not this. It's so different. This is so
you've got individual groups and players that are running stuff like ATAC, which is a neat little Android app that you can run. But like, to be 100% honest, you're offering something that not a lot of people have going for them right now.
Have you guys messed around with the Ares Alpha app at all?
We've dabbled in it. We have asked us about it, and it's we haven't really found a use for it. Let's just leave it at that. I mean,
and it's not a negative thing at all.
Not a bad thing.
But it doesn't fit with what you guys are doing.
Right.
Yeah. From like an admin perspective, it doesn't really, because our games are, kind of freeform and they do flow and things like that. So objectives are going to change, and placement of players is going to change. It's not going to be just like solidified in this one space the entire time. And that's why we keep saying, like, from episode 1, Radio Silence, to Captivus, it was those games were night and day, right? And then going into Captivus, if you think you're going to have the same experience that you did at Captivus that you do at Brimstone, like, you're going to have a rude awakening, because it's going to be a completely different gameplay based off of what's going on in the story that the players wrote. Like, had written kind of the foundation and, the past and what's to come, but like how you get there, the players are really the vehicle that are going to drive this actual story. And like, I mean, for instance, you want to talk about organic, like, when I got captured at Radio Silence and I was like pulled up in these Connexes and they blindfolded me and like put stuff in my face and took pictures with my lifeless body, I didn't for 1 second sit there and go, oh, I'm going to spend 30 hours in a jail cell that I built myself at the next event. I literally sat for Captivus. I was a living, breathing prop for 30 hours. Sat in
Jesus.
And the room I was in was like, I couldn't get out. It was locked with a steel door.
You must have been real bored.
Oh, dude, it was awful. It was terrible.
It was a little moist in there. It was a little leaky. It was moist.
You ever have to
At
take a
least you have
shit
plenty
in
of
there?
water.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Just drinking from the tarp I was hanging.
Man.
Oh, God.
But once again, like, that's one of the things that comes to our events that, that's just an example of the organic, I guess you could say, the promotion that goes through it. Like, it evolves naturally, and the players drive that 100%.
Oh, totally. And like,
we actually had a good question in the chat here. I just wanted to bring up, because we were talking about technology integration. Ho Ching Jung says, will you guys consider using camera drones as part of the game design, parentheses, other than as a target?
So camera drones, we actually do allow players to use their drones. When it comes down to somebody else's drone as a player who is bringing their personal thing, tampering with that is not something that we really have a workaround with. But we do have Grimnir tactical staff drones, and for all of you listening, if you want something else to be excited about, I mean, I saw some people in the chat talking about, excitement on hackable turrets. Logan actually developed a chassis that goes onto his drone, and that chassis holds a tag-in round. So we debuted that at Captivus, and as a perk for a faction, if you held that perk of drone strike, you could actually call that in. It would fly above an area that you would obviously have to give the coordinates for, and it would shoot a tag straight down onto a group of people. So like, we have
that's so fucking cool. Yeah, I remember seeing that at the Metro Airsoft Expo at Zulu. I was like, this is the dumbest, greatest thing I've ever seen.
It
worked.
It looked dumb, but like the first thing and we tied that to a base. So whoever held a specific location was able to call that perk in, right? We had a mechanic, and again, it was like a sketch for Captivus, because it was an analog like thing. You had to like go push a light, and whatever color the light was, it would match your faction, and you'd be able to call it in. But like, we're developing that further. It's not going to be in games until we have certain technology pieces in place. But like, it may have looked dumb, but like when that thing flew overhead and like it actually fired its airstrike, I mean, like you saw, like people like watched it, and it was a really cool reaction. and there's things we're doing to take it to the next level, like, absolutely. And then to Ian's point, like, not only the airstrike drone, but like, yeah, we let players use their drone for sure. But we have this concept of perks, right? Where we have each faction will have their own surveillance drone. You can literally radio in and ask them to call it in, and they will, if it's available off its cooldown, it'll fly over, and you'll have it for the duration of its battery life. So yeah, I forget who asked the question, but like, absolutely, we've got drones in there, and we're trying to integrate that kind of stuff into like the actual mechanics.
Yeah, that's fucking neat.
I think it's neat.
I love the tag-in drone. Like I said, it kind of looks like I saw it on your booth. I'm like, wait, what the fuck did these madmen do? And then I went over and you were talking about, like, I almost hate how genius that is.
It absolutely is the dumbest looking thing I've ever seen. It looks like it has a big strap on it. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's horrible.
It's just some standard, like, just ISIS shit out of Syria, like, that you can see on you can see on r/combat footage. Oh, hey man, it is what it is. It's pretty badass.
The best part about it is that you can't see how dumb it looks when it's 30 feet above you.
No, you don't notice that.
Like, people legitimately left their cover because they were like, oh shit, like that thing's right above me, and they just dispersed. Like, everybody stopped fighting for a second to get out of the way. And there were some good kills with it too.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's so fucking cool.
It was cool.
I do like that.
Have you guys ever I'm curious, like, have you guys ever put a mechanic into a game that, like, to you was very clear and it made sense, but like players like didn't latch onto it? Like, have you guys ever had that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, we've had stuff like that. There was a game I was running at one of the at our local field, River City. And I remember the biggest example I can think of was, and this is like,
which game was this, Eric?
This was the bank robbery game.
Oh,
and
okay.
One of the things that people didn't get is that, like, because what I did at this game is I had because this field is super hard to balance games at. So what I did instead is I would create games that were kind of unbalanced and then just switch sides and have both teams run through this mission. Whoever did better was ultimately the winner. And what people didn't get, and this is super fucking basic, is when you were the cops, the defenders for a mission, you could not shoot the fucking hostages. And if you shot the hostages, you would wind up being given a pool noodle because you were placed on administrative leave since you couldn't be trusted with a gun.
Should have given them like a wooden, like the wooden gun from the other guys.
Okay, that just has me concerned about those individuals' mental health. Like, we need to get them to somebody to talk to. That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's wild.
That's one example I can think of, and then another example I can think of was when I did a downed pilot game. Standard downed pilot, but I had like a twist on it where you had to actually stabilize and like treat the downed pilot before you could move him. And for some reason, like none of the players, like, I briefed them all on it. I like told them all what the steps of the game were, and both teams wound up
chucked them over there.
No, none of them did anything. They just didn't even go after the pilot. They totally treated it like an open play. Never played the objective. And my buddy Steve is laying as a living prop for 2 hours at a time, both screaming for help. And I feel like that unfortunately has to do with like the player base I was catering to. The local Rochester player base can be pretty hit and miss with whether or not people get into games more advanced than capture the flag. So that was probably on me, not really catering to my audience, because I've run games exactly like that at like Hunter's Creek back when Kyle was running that as a field more regularly, and people fucking loved it. So I think knowing your audience is super important. I don't think I knew my audience that well.
I've been to a lot of open plays at places like River City or places like Rochester Airsoft, and one of the things that I've kind of come to realize is that every match devolves into TDM. Like, that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah. Unless there's a real structure that's kind of implemented before it starts, like,
which you can't implement at a walk-on open play with.
You can't.
Nope.
Knowing your audience is super important, but at the end of the day, like, you can sit here and you can go, okay, who's our target audience? Like, us as a business, who do we want to have come to our games? Who are going to make the games turn out as best as they possibly can? That's a goal. If that's not one of your goals, you're doing something wrong. but that doesn't mean the people that buy your tickets are your audience.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I think
we thought putting a 40-hour Milsim stamp on it, people were going to be like, oh, okay, like that's too hard for me. And we are really, really happy that I would say probably 85% of the people at Radio Silence were first time, you know, overnight, throughout the night play. Like that was so cool for us, but that was not the audience that we were gunning for. But now these people have really come in and, you know.
But again, that's growth, right?
And it's growth. And it's really
that's one of the things that we're all about is like trying to grow the community. And like that's like we try our hardest to keep everything as absolutely positive and just like, you know, chill as possible. Like, you know, we've been in other like forums and stuff where people are like really like negative or elitist, or like you feel like if you ask a question you get kind of slapped around. It's like, hey man, like I'm just asking a question. And we welcome all players and we want everyone to go in there because we truly believe there's something for everyone in our games. You want a heavy LARP? Dope. You got a bunch of nods and you want to fuck shit up at night? Great. We got stuff for you too. You know, and I think that it's in general, like we've found a way to, in general, you know, of course it's airsoft, so everyone gets chirpy at some point, but like everyone kind of, you know, exists and they're all, right now, no one's killed each other yet. So, I mean, you know, that's good. But
it's a good start. Yeah.
It's a good start. No one's dead. And, you know, the players are, you know, they're coming back and they're interacting with each other. And you've got really hardcore players working with, you know, guys who are new to the 40-hour, like, hardcore scene. And it's really awesome to see everyone kind of, like, you know, evolve. And that's cool for us. I think that's pretty awesome.
We have a very non-toxic community, too. Like, yes, I said earlier, like, they talk shit and they hate each other. But, like, when they
But it's all in good fun.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not like they actually hate each other.
Yeah. Like, at the end of, you know, they're like, people are like walking up, never met each other, and they're like giving each other hugs, and everybody's like it just felt like a big family gathering at one point. And we love that about it. But like, it's cool to see people that are very experienced and been doing this for 7-8 years at our events, and then people that this is their first time and they have like, you know, a pretty standard first gun or whatever it may be, and they're not experienced. But like the people that are obviously that have been doing this for a while are actually helping those people, and those people are listening, and like we have a lot of learning going on, and people will be like, hey, you can run with us because you've never run at night before. And it's just, I don't know, it's a really kind of a cool thing to see, because there has been a lot of instances where if you're new, fuck you. It's like not the thing anymore.
I will say and I think it's all in good fun, but last game we introduced, so Ian's faction, the CFI, and Logan's faction, they run that one. They had a spec ops team they call Ghost Cell, and they've got, you know, fucking, they're all dual tubes, White Foss, all that good shit. We introduced, and they were kicking the shit out of everyone at the first event. So we introduced a counter in Captivist for the IGC. We called them Dagger, and those two, like we, you know, from a game design perspective, you know, going back to and creating unique experiences, when I did the design, I actually had them interacting. So like we didn't tell Ghost off the bat, but Dagger was brought in there and I briefed them, and we actually had them hunting Ghost, and we had them go slick in civilian cells. So like from Dagger's perspective, they were told to find, we didn't give them identities, we didn't tell them what they looked like. They had to go and infiltrate, you know, the criminals and the rebels to try and find out who these guys were, hunt them and kill them. But then from Ghost, they were trying to get their stuff done, and we didn't tell them there was a team hunting them. So it was just really cool dynamic. But what got really cool is like those two, when they started hitting each other, they went at it all event. Like every time we sent them out, they just inevitably intersected. And every time they'd come back to the separate fobs, they're like, yo, fuck those guys. Or they were like, they keep getting in our way. Like, they're, oh my God. Like, you know, and there was this shit talking, like, you know, my Dagger guys would come back and be like, yo, we just waxed those guys that were coming over. And then like they'd go out again, they'd get waxed. And it was really, really cool to see that evolve.
Yeah, so get that back and forth going, you know, that animosity.
It was really cool. It was a little bit of rivalry is good. The point is, I'm pretty sure those guys don't actually hate each other, but the jury's out on it. They might actually hate each other. We'll see. I don't know.
Well, and in the game, you're going to hate each other.
Well, it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch both in and out of the game. It was fun to watch for us, so it makes it worth it.
Sure. I need to get out to one of these so badly. I really want to go to the one you're hosting in October.
Please,
it's just like,
Brimstone.
I know, I want to so bad. It's one of those things, though, where my fall is so fucked up because my brother's getting married. So I'm like
Oh.
really trying to make sure your event is 2 weeks after his wedding. So I'm really hoping that is enough time that nothing's going to come up and I can just, make it down there and get it in because I really want to check out your event.
We really want to have you guys down to one of the events. We'd love to have you guys for sure.
Well, because I love everything you're doing, like the sci-fi theme, the blend of LARP, the 40 hours. Like, fuck yeah,
Yep.
sign me up.
Yep. I think it's cool, but don't worry. Like, if you can't make it to Brimstone,
I think I'm going to. I'm really trying to make sure I get everything like down pat before I commit. Because I feel like such a dick. I just committed to Valkyrie Airsoft to CO one of their factions, and like 2 weeks after I committed, I find out that my brother's engagement party is that weekend. And I'm like, motherfucker. So,
priorities, obviously.
Yeah, so I'm trying to really make sure everything's buttoned up before I commit to future games.
All good, dude. All good. I mean, we'll make a spot for you no matter what. And you'll have.
I'm also happy to just buy a ticket and just like experience it. Just vibe.
We'd love just to have you on the ground. I think no matter which faction you jump into, I think you're gonna have a blast. I think you guys absolutely have a blast. And I think it's the cool thing about Panthera is like they really don't like you. We're gonna do whatever we want there. Like the captivists
down there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean that's what they do there. There were some hiccups going back to the point about AOs. Like there were some hiccups at captivists that were kind of out of our control. Like we had to call a ceasefire at night because the cops showed up and
was that
instead of risking.
No.
No.
Where was Captivus held?
On target paintball, on target airsoft in Pemberton, New Jersey.
Okay.
I've heard some kind of hit and miss things about that place.
So
cops are called, changing subject. Yeah, I mean, so again, they have a really great sea container town. Our point of contact, she was really awesome. There was just hosting big games. I think we were one of the first really, really big games that kind of went through there. So it was a learning experience for everyone around, right? Certain things, shit happens and you do the best you can. And we made the call, like, could we have kept going? Yes, but I think that would have put the rest of the event at risk. And
because if the cops come back, they're going to shut you down.
When they showed up, there had been a fight that had just happened. It had just died down. If there was I'm absolutely convinced that there was active fighting going on, they would have tried to shut us down. So we got a little bit lucky, but Panthera, not going to be the case. Not going to be the case at all.
Panthera's so wide open, and even still, as long as you don't have just some random dude walking down the highway that's right next to Panthera with just what looks to be a machine gun, you'll be.
Well, that's the least you could hope for, right?
I've been to a number of events down there. I worked one event. I'm going to be working another one in September, and from everything that I've heard, as long as you have a little bit of a standoff between you and you brief it and you say hey, don't go past this point. You'll be fine because you've got so much fucking area to work with.
Yep.
If you go out there, you're doing something wrong.
If you go out of the map there, you haven't seen another human being for quite some time.
Yeah, you're lost.
Yeah.
We're going to have to come find you.
That's when you stumble into the cast of Wrong Turn and shit gets real.
Well, it's West Virginia, so it's more like, what was it, Deliverance, I think?
Deliverance.
Yeah.
Deliverance, yes.
Wrong Turn was in West Virginia, too, I think.
Yeah, but when you hear the banjo start playing, it's time to turn around and go back to what you can.
All right, well, horror movies
Go
aside.
back from whence you came.
Yep. We're trying to avoid anyone getting made into a skin lamp /suit / put in the well with lotion and shit. We're trying to avoid that. I can't promise anything. There's a lot of hills there. Dude, I gotta tell you, our point of contact at Panthera has been incredible. She's awesome. She's so amazing. We're working together to try and add some really cool, say, ambiance to certain elements of the game, just to make players. Because when we were thinking about this, my ultimate view is I want players to for the start of these big invasion style games to feel. And not saying this is Brimstone, but as we get bigger, because Brimstone's only event number 3, but when we get these bigger and when we get like certain elements in place, like I want players to like step out of their drop ships into like oncoming fire and have like shit flying over their heads. Like I want them to feel like they're in one of the big fights from Star Wars. I want them to feel that scale. And that's something that's like the big vision. Like, again, we try and toe the line because like we don't want to like seem like we're making promises that things are going to be that, you know, we're not ready yet. But the big vision is I want people to feel like there's like a massive fight happening around them at all times. Like they're part of something huge.
Yeah, well, you're just trying to get those like non-traditional things squared away, because that's one of the things I find that and like this obviously wouldn't be right for your event, but an example of someone doing something like this, I think that's where like Blank Fire at Milsim West adds that type of ambiance. And again, I don't know if that would be right for you guys, but like it's that type of thing that, you know, changes the experience from a rote airsoft game into something bigger and crazier and weirder is happening. Like the dust storms at Omega are like a kind of thing like that, where it amps up the tension.
We got to make it out to an Omega game. We were looking at them and stuff, like coming out to one, and I heard about the dust storms. I was like, wait, they do what now? Like that's fucking cool.
Yeah, we have at Omega we have dust storms, and it's cool. It's so fun. Like just watch everyone scramble to put their masks on.
Oh, I love it, man. That's so cool.
Yeah, and completely. You'll see players who like, because like a lot of times at Omega events, you'll have an entire side of the field which is just completely like, you have to have your mask on, otherwise you can't go there, because, you know.
Well, not a lot of times. They've only done it once.
Was that only for Desolation 3?
Yeah, they've only done it once, and I don't want to comment further on whether or not that makes a comeback.
Yeah, excuse me, I have no idea whether or not it makes a comeback. That being said, watching people just like, oh fuck, I don't want to go there. I'm just gonna stick to this side of the field because it's just this mask is terrible and it's really hot out. It's like, okay, this adds a little bit more of that like desperation to these types of events.
Yeah,
dude.
The production value is definitely important to us. I mean, the production value naturally goes up when you can do it. So
you have the money for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
or just the technical know-how, or even like you can also kind of add production value without spending a lot of money. Like something I think people forget is your greatest resource as an event promoter, and like there's a few event promoters that really understand this well, is your people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When you see events that have a substantial number of people as like embedded staff, Omega Productions, Milsim West, that adds.
You guys,
that gives you
I mean,
so
I don't know
much control.
Embedded staff is out to spoil that, but clearly you have enough that you're able to like maintain an eye on everything.
Well, not only that, but it gives you a level of control over the flow of the event that you wouldn't normally have if it's just like, oh yeah, all right guys, have fun, you know.
Yep. Yeah, we're still like, again, like we're event number 3 year, and it'll be a 1 year since we ran Radio Silence like in September, but like we're still growing that, and like we want to definitely build out more of like a civilian style like presence in a lot of stuff, because it's supposed to be happening with people, right? Like, and that requires like a very heavy role play and stuff, and you know, we mimicked that. And actually this goes back to like the mechanic that didn't people just somehow didn't get. So like for Captivists, the thing we did is the CFI are rebels, right? So they're technically like miners and farmers, maybe some military and shit. But they're not like, they look haggard, they look into, they dress.
It's a guerrilla faction.
Right. And then you have the criminals, which are their uniforms are exactly the same. And the thing that confused people at Captivists, but then like certain people understood like what we were going for, is we always are trying to, in some of our events, create these shoot no shoot scenarios. So like the ROE for the Marines was a very strict ROE. Like you cannot fire unless like they have a weapon and they're threat, like basically Afghanistan ROE, right? Like they must be in a threatening position. And then we also briefed them that they're allowed to carry weapons here. So it's very similar to that insurgency style area where it's like
literally just Afghanistan. Okay.
Yep. Exactly. Basically Afghanistan. But like the other thing was you had these two criminal factions who were fighting each other. They looked exactly the same. And what we were trying to create was a tense situation for everyone involved. So like if I'm in the Crypto Kings, I don't know if I'm standing next to someone who hates me or if I'm a buddy, a rebel. I don't know. So we were trying to create that, like everyone had colored wristbands. We were trying to create a sense where people were tense, but players actually perceived that as like the uniform rules weren't like broken out enough, when in fact that was like by design. We wanted it to be confusing, which is like in and of
and there are a lot of ways to interact with each other beyond shooting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then
Like,
we got a little bit of that. Talking, yeah. Let's use our words. Like humans. Use our words first.
Thinking before shooting was something that we were trying to obviously implement, and unfortunately, there was a good amount, and it doesn't even take a lot of people to not grasp that concept to kind of, I don't want to say ruin it for everybody, but for it to just not be successful the way that you're hoping it to be. So, when you're sitting there and you're like, okay, like this group over here of 10 guys understand that, hey, the criminal factions look just like me. I'm not going to shoot them right away. There's one or two people that are just like, I don't recognize that person, so I'm going to shoot them. They must be the enemy. And that's where it gets, those lines get blurred, and it kind of gets a little hard to manage.
Whereas if you're thinking like in an alternative mindset, maybe if you're a criminal, you want to blend in with the civilian populace, like get buddy with them, and then maybe make some connections, maybe recruit. I don't know.
It was all about blending. It was all about blending.
Yeah,
so,
and people like for the people, it was because you had that separation. Like people who got it, they would blend. They would use their words. They would use subterfuge, and then people were getting they thought they were being taken advantage of when like the guy who looked like them but wasn't part of their team would like shoot them after they passed. But they weren't. They just weren't in that right mind space. So it's like it's really interesting. I think like with some of these mechanics. Like you said, like there's a learning curve to them. I'm sure if we do that more often, people will be like, oh, okay, now I get it. I understand it now. So it's really interesting to watch like how people consume and then kind of retain like things that aren't familiar. Because that kind of mechanic, like it's common in like the insurgency events at MSW and those style events. Not something that's really common on the East Coast. That's the other interesting thing is like other than like when MSW comes and does the Panthera stuff, like the Ceratovs, there's not much going on East Coast like of this other than like like you said like Omega, but like that style of like immersion.
But Omega has not run an event in almost a full year because of
COVID.
Yeah, what?
Because of the coof, I believe is the YouTube monetization safe term.
Bullshit. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, fucking because of the
Breaking
fucking things. But anyway.
Sorry.
Well, what I'm excited to see is more events starting to take place because like East Coast is generally like Northeast and whatnot, but you're starting to see events down in the Southeast, Georgia, and where's Guardian Center at?
That the Northeast Guardian Center is in the South. That's South Carolina.
Well, okay, South Carolina, and then you also
that Guardian Center is Georgia. South Carolina is
Georgia.
GTI.
Yeah, and then Shelby is what, Mississippi?
Mississippi.
Yeah, but nobody's ran an event at Shelby in years. Regardless, but you're going to start seeing more events starting to pop up in Guardian Center and GTI because they're starting to be open up to airsoft promoters again. So you're
and the world is reopening, so airsoft events are kind of coming back more.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
it's exciting, man. I'm ready to start seeing insurgency events. I'm going to my first one in September.
And then we've got, I'm excited for Omega to come back, and I'm excited for you guys because I think it's cool now that we went from, because I remember, God, this is ancient history at this point. None of you guys are going to know what I'm talking about. If anyone in the chat watching right now knows this event I'm talking about, you're a fucking OG.
Is it Yuck's event?
Like a Buffalo OG.
Oh, yeah.
There was Demon Seed that Frank, the guy behind Omega, ran back in like 2011 or 2012. Mm-hmm. And that was an open world role play post-apocalyptic game he ran at the Warzone, and nobody had done anything like that before that I had seen at that time. And I don't think anybody was experimenting with stuff like that really in 2011, 2012, unless Balahack was running that far back and I just hadn't heard about it. And that game for me was like the dragon I was chasing from 2011 to fucking 2018 until Frank finally made Omega and actually had that happen. Well, then I went to Insurgency, and now you guys are coming out. I'm like, all right, sick. Now I got multiple dragons to choose from.
Awesome.
I remember seeing for a while, there were events posted up on Evic. I think they were ran in part by Evic that were like specifically based off Fallout or other post-apocalyptic type events, but they never really kind of lived up to the hype that you saw. And now that you're starting to see these events, like your guys' events and Revelations down at Balahack and the Omega production events, like I'm excited to get back into it, man, because a year off definitely kind of reignited that urge.
I think everyone's coming back hungry too. Like, I've noticed a lot of new producers who are scoring really legit AOs, and a lot of people, I guess, have spent that year in lockdown, like for reasons, or just hanging out at home. All the time we spent hanging out and whatever, but they spend time like they spend their time
Brainstorming,
like
man.
yeah, exactly. All these ideas like kind of fermenting and becoming a thing, and you have all this time at home, and you're like, okay, well, I got nothing else to do, and I can only play so much, so many games or read so many books, so I'm gonna try and do something else, right? And I'm really excited to see like the stuff that we're kind of working on, like we've got a project we're running over this summer that's a secret, that we're not really going to talk about, but it's when it goes well in the next iterations, I think you guys are gonna be like super psyched about it, because I think you'll start seeing noise about it like later this year in early 2022. But like I'm excited to see that stuff come out, obviously from us, but like I'm also excited to see like what other producers are doing to push the envelope further, because again, technology is becoming the thing right now. Like you're seeing it more, and I think that's the next step. I think that's just the natural evolution of what we're doing.
Oh,
I'm psyched
absolutely.
to see what people do.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's so much like just requested evolution coming out of out of the player base as a whole, because everybody's played those events where it's like, okay, capture this objective and grab this box and this random AO that we managed to get with. It's like, okay, that's cool. I've been to these types of events, but give me something new. Give me something I haven't really seen before, and that's where stuff like Omega and you guys is kind of like emerged and offered something new in the community that we haven't really seen before. So I'm excited.
Awesome.
It's like a super nice compliment.
Hey man, I've been to a number of events from promoters that I'm not going to name, where it's just like, okay, I paid $110 or $150 for this fucking event, and really all it was show up, get shafted by some random dude's fucking Pope Mobile type technical that has or something of that nature, and really it just turns into a gigantic team deathmatch that no one really gives a shit about the objectives.
Well, because the objectives aren't put on the AO in time.
That's right. And then like the night game happens, and it's just like, all right, there's 15 people out there with dual tubes, and it's 2018, so no one really else owns nods. I don't know, man. I'm still kind of salty about that specific event that Eric and I directly know about, but regardless,
But
I'm excited to see new events.
I had a comment I wanted to make before we just went directly to being salty about prior events we didn't enjoy. But one of the things I think is cool that we're seeing is, I feel like the technology of like airsoft guns and like the gear and shit, I feel like that's reached a plateau where like I don't know how much further a lot of that can really go until you like I don't know. I don't think sim rounds will ever replace airsoft, purely because of insurance reasons and
that
reality.
was a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
I've heard that not as a joke though from other people, like sim rounds are gonna replace airsoft. I'm like, oh cool, so are 30-round magazines legal in your jurisdiction? They're like, well no, and I'm like, then they're not gonna replace airsoft.
No, they're not. No, what's exciting to see is obviously that technology is hitting a plateau, and you got stuff like HPA, and HPA is going to kind of become the new norm over the next couple of years, at least.
But I think with the actual like airsoft technology hitting that plateau, I think now game promoters are like realizing, okay, the pieces are in place of like what we're working with in terms of that. Now we got to figure out like what type of new game designs, new game formats, and new non-airsoft technology can we integrate to make things more interesting and change it up and differentiate ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you had a long time where everyone was just trying to be fucking Lion Claws, which you guys wouldn't remember, the Grimnir guys. You wouldn't remember the 10-year period where every event promoter was running the same format of event.
Just trying to emulate that thing. Ian, were you just trying? Sorry, fake Ian. Were you trying to say something? I thought I heard you pipe up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say something, and then you said Lion Claws, and I was like, well, I have nothing to add to this, so I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
No, you go ahead. I just I thought there was like some dead air, so I was just bullshitting.
No, just on the plateau, like you'll always see like ancillary products come out, right? So like, the guns. How much better can you make a plastic BB go through a smooth bore barrel? Like, there's only so much more that you can do, unless you're gonna do like hydrogen powered airsoft guns. Like, I doubt that's gonna hit the market next. But if you have HPA and DSG, AEG, whatever you're looking into doing, you have these products, and now you see companies like, I think it's Gate is actually putting out like a BB counter that sits on like a Picatinny rail, and it will actually count your ammunition.
I think that was
so
X-Core Tech, but Gate might have a version too.
Sure. I don't know much about it, but like at the end of the day, you're gonna see these ancillary products coming out because you have to keep doing things to stay original and stay relevant. I mean, you can only do so much, and like the science can only let you go so far. Like legitimately, science plays into a huge factor for airsoft.
Yep.
And we just kind of saw this as an opportunity of like, okay, like let's do
Yeah.
some events now. Take your fancy new toys and bring them.
You can only do so much with a gun that in the best possible conditions can shoot like maybe 300 feet.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's all you got.
That's all you got.
I mean, we had what? I think the biggest thing to come out was like when Novritz did that full thrust system.
I would say
Which
just heavy BBs
I don't think
as a
ever
whole.
really caught on. I don't
didn't,
know anybody who's that.
I saw a couple people use it, and then I never heard about it again. Ever.
No, there's a video we did recently on like just heavy BBs. Run them. They're not that expensive, and they vastly increase the overall performance of your gun.
Yep.
Yeah, but a lot of people still see, oh, I lose velocity, so it's obviously
0.23s, man. That's all you need.
No, I agree, and I'm super, like I said, I'm super pumped to see how people fill that gap because I think you guys are right. Like I think that with technology plateau, like the gear technology plateauing, I'm really interested to see how we as producers try and keep the sport and community alive and fill that gap because it's on us now. I've never actually like thought until you said but it's on all of us together. The other thing that I think is going to be interesting, and that's always kind of maybe it's a hard change, but and I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this. I think I'd love to see us get to a point where producers collaborate more because like what I've noticed is there is a very high amount of it's probably too harsh of a term, but like I can't think of anything else right now. So this isn't meant to be negative or derogatory, but like a high amount of hostility between production companies. Like there's a territorialism, right? Everyone's territorial.
Well, everyone's very competitive.
Very well. It's competitive, but it's not the kind of competitiveness that grows the.
No, it's not
industry.
a healthy.
No,
and unfortunately, that goes back to like way before you guys got into airsoft. That unfortunately was like the tone on that has been set ever since like AMS and Lion Claws were the two competing event hosts.
It's very carny and pro wrestler like. If you have any like, if you know anything about the history of pro wrestling, there's individual territories, and no one wanted to step on each other's dicks, and it was just there's so much stuff taking place, and it still takes place in like the overall event promoter scene that. Where it's very, very hostile in between specific promoters. Yeah. Oh, you guys know.
We know.
Everyone watching knows. Like everyone has seen the threads on the fucking groups. Everyone has. But I'm with you. I wish there was a bit more of like a cooperative spirit with some promoters. And I know, and that's the funny thing is, I do know a few promoters who kind of talk to each other here and there, but it's mainly because they're not really competing. But the second you kind of step into someone's space, like it gets brutal.
Oh, absolutely. Well, watching
we've had entire AOs in the airsoft scene have to call off airsoft because inner promoter rivalry got so fucking out of hand.
I've heard about that.
Yeah. So it gets nuts.
It gets spicy, but I think just the next evolution of the hobby as a whole is also coming from it stepping into the mainstream. I mean,
yes,
we just saw.
Well, hopefully, some more mainstream scrutiny is gonna help everyone kind of chill the fuck out.
Oh, absolutely. But watch, you can bring up the most recent Vice documentary or the New York Times article on Milsim West, and you're probably gonna start seeing other event promoters get some of that mainstream attention, and hopefully, it's event promoters that are gonna show airsoft in a positive light.
There are a couple of event promoters I hope never get interviewed.
Absolutely.
But then there's a couple more that I really hope do. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's a fine line that you're towing right there. You got to be like, I really hope this works out in the favor of, I don't want to say the good guys, but the ones that you want to see that you know are doing the right things.
The ones who I can trust to represent themselves to normal people and not come away with like a sexual harassment allegation.
Oh my God. I think that disqualifies like most human beings in the airsoft scene right now.
Yeah.
We're pretty hard bunch. We're pretty inappropriate. But
There's a couple in particular I think would be really at risk.
Yeah, there's like a couple guys on our on Grimnir that were like, hey, we're just gonna keep you in a dark room until we need you, and we'll try you out. You can do what you need, and we're gonna put you back. We're gonna put you back there, sloth. Go have a baby Ruth. I think I think that the point you guys are making about like mainstream media, like I think the more that happens, the more like that's only going to help, right? If that's where coming up with all these innovative technology, like the innovations and like making it seem more whatever. And that's the other thing, like I think that scenarios that allow people who maybe have never played airsoft before, but like something we've toyed around with is expanding our portfolio to include whole game types that tie into the airsoft events, but are more airsoft is more the vehicle. There's gonna be pew pew, but like an idea I had was like, oh, like we're gonna do like it's basically a weekend long escape room, a weekend long puzzle you have to solve, where like you're sending researchers in to do stuff, and there might be certain elements that involve airsoft, but it ties into that greater narrative. Like again, going back to our kind of bread and butter.
Yeah, where now it's more like Westworld almost than anything resembling Milsim.
The when I talk about like what we really want to try and do, I basically kind of go and I don't want to build Disney World. I want to build Westworld. Like I want players I want people to engage, and our vision is that we can engage players not just in the game, but outside of the game too. Like they're actually still playing the game when they leave. That's like our jam, and that's what we're trying to work towards. And one of the projects we have going is like specifically targeted at facilitating and taking the first step towards that.
Listen, if I can't show up to these games for 40 years in a row trying to find my lost robot waifu, then like, what are you even doing?
Exactly. If I'm not actually like murdering people, like, are they people? Maybe they're androids. I don't know. Gets hazy.
Well, that was the big philosophical question, right?
What is it? Actually, I got lost on that show. Like, I didn't like. I was like really into it, and then I stopped watching it. It's such a complex show that if you don't watch it straight through your feel, like you need to start it all over because you're gonna be totally lost.
Well, just watch season 1, because season 2 was where it got like a little too Metal Gear Solid absurdist, and I'm like, all right, I didn't know Hideo Kojima was on the fucking writing staff, because now we have jumped the shark.
Okay. The package delivery simulator.
Yeah.
Nanomachine son.
ID tag soldiers fight with ID tag weapons.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm all about absurdity. Trust me, I have a lot of respect for Hideo Kojima. I can't. It just goes way above me. Did I freeze?
No, you're good to me.
Okay, sorry. My whole screen just like locked up. Sorry.
Nah, you look good to us.
Oh, thank you. Another very nice compliment. I need to talk to you guys more often. You make me feel like warm and fuzzy. It's awesome.
Oh, well, you see, there's a curve, though, because, like, we rope you in with the compliments, and then, like, as soon as you actually really know us, it's like, all right, now you have to get fucking shit-faced, and we're going to insult you the whole time.
That sounds a lot like us. I think we're going to get along famously. Sounds
perfect.
Fantastic.
Love it.
That's our guy in a nutshell. I don't want to steal your admin rights on the chat.
No, absolutely.
I have it pulled up, and somebody brought it up because we were obviously creating new and unique experiences, and the one that I didn't get to go to it, but GQ, Mongo, and Doc got to go out to Room and Arms Experientia.
I actually wanted to bring up that comment, so I'm really glad you did.
Look at that. But that's just a prime example of something different. And it's
what was your thoughts on, or what was their thoughts on that rather, with the actual event format?
Doc, what are your thoughts?
I thought so. I gotta say, Oren, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but like we're partnering with Oren, who's one of the owners of Rudiment, to bring out he's doing a lot of 3D printing for us, because now we're focusing on making the props. Like when you touch something in the Soul War stuff, we want you to feel like you're touching something like super futuristic. His props, holy shit. Like the props at that event were out of control. I mean, like they looked like he had 3D printed entire like mini Fat Boy nukes, and you had to go find. I mean, it was The fidelity of props was really, really, really awesome. It was really awesome. It was the concept behind the event where it was meant to focus more on investigation and less shooting. Really cool, really unique, and the props were so good. But I also think it's like a good example of one of those, like, there's a really high concept that more or less devolved into a very kinetic event, right? Because everyone just wanted to kind of shoot each other. But it still worked. It was still very good for a first event. I thought it was solid. We actually met with Oren afterwards. We gave him, we traded some notes and stuff, like what our experiences were and like what we saw that, could be improved on. Because at least like for us, like when we run our events, like we spend a lot of time talking to our players and like letting them like poo-poo on us, be like, this is what sucked at your event. We want to know that because like that's how we're going to make our future shit better. But like that's the only way. But yeah, man, I thought Experiential was really cool, and I'd love to see, I'd love to see another event like that. Maybe not in Minnesota because that was really, 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 really far away, and I was very tired driving. But it was pretty cool. It was very cool.
Yeah, I know Ian on a fucking technical level, like one of those actually type of things, took a lot of issue with it being called psyops. But
I'm an Army Intel guy, so I was looking at it and I just saw the poster. I'm like, what about this is psychological operations? Please explain to me. But
real Ian, can I give you a fun fact? I'm actually a 37 Foxtrot. I was a psyop guy.
Okay, there you go.
I thought the same thing. I was a psyop weirdo, and I was like, oh, cool. So like, I saw, I was like, so we're dropping paper pamphlets on people a bunch. Like, okay, but I got what. But then, like, I read it, I was like, okay, I get it was. You and I both know, Ian.
It's
like,
fun buzzwords,
people,
yes.
But that's a common thing that happens with psyop. Like, they think we're out there, like, staring at ghosts and shit. Not at all. We're like
just Jesus Christ,
combat.
That's Jason Bourne.
Yeah. We're combat marketers. That's the way I always put it.
Yes.
It's exactly what psyop is. And we have loudspeakers and shit. But it was still a cool event. Misnomer aside, it was really, really cool concept. The AO that it was run at, I'm losing the name, but it's run by players who come to the Grimnir events.
Where is it out
Mall Cops. It's Bridge City Airsoft. That's the name of it. It's Bridge City Airsoft.
I've never been there. I've
never heard of it.
Yeah.
It's a really small, and it's basically it's a field, and the guy who runs it, Luke Latoka, he comes to our events with his team. The Mall Cops will be they've been at all three events. Beautiful AO. Beautiful AO. Psyop these nuts. Cool. Yeah, I don't know what that means though. I don't know how to psyop nuts. Anyway, but yeah, props are awesome.
Sure.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I'll give the South Park response. Present them.
I don't watch enough South Park. But yeah, the AO is beautiful. I actually hope that more, and it's huge too. I hope that there's not many structures, but it would be great for like a force on force, like maneuver style event.
Sure.
I'd love to see more stuff like run up there. And the area, it's right on one of the Great Lakes. Beautiful. Awesome up there. So if you guys ever get a chance to go. What was that?
Where's that out of? Michigan?
Yeah, Michigan. Did I say Minnesota? Okay. I meant Michigan. Yeah, sorry.
You said Minnesota at first, then you mentioned the Great Lakes and the bridges. I'm like, sounds like
no. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But it was
okay,
Michigan.
Neither do I.
Cool, good. We're all on the same page then. Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know how I built this Airsoft channel. I just got
just
drunk
talk out of our ass.
Talked about a bunch of bullshit, and 27,000 people decided to tune in.
It's something. Yeah, Tippett, Michigan. Isn't that how like the best stuff happens though? Like normally there's
alcohol.
like isn't that like Reese's, like someone dropped peanut butter or some shit? Like yes, that's like absolutely happy accidents, and that's probably why you guys are winning, right? Like
yeah, it's what Bob Ross would say. There are no mistakes, just happy little accidents.
Bob Ross. So there was a phase in the middle of our hangout time where my wife got obsessed with Bob Ross. Like I'd come down from like working from home in the office, and she'd have like Bob Ross, and she actually
my god.
Started painting along. I was like, what are you doing? I bought her a Bob Ross t-shirt for Mother's Day and stuff.
Oh my god, that's fucking great.
It's so good. So good.
Better than my brother who's obsessed with Frozen.
Does he have children? Otherwise it's
no, it's actually kind of a meme. Oh my god, I'm gonna shit on my brother Mark right now, but it's gonna be really funny. I'm gonna send this to him later. But But my oldest brother
Hi, Mark.
actually went through a phase where when he was living alone and single, he would just watch Frozen and drink Guinness on his couch every night when he got home from work. And sometimes it would be Frozen, sometimes it would be Les Miserables, sometimes it would be Mamma Mia. But he would just watch.
Just a big fan of
random
musicals?
musicals
Okay, I was gonna
and
say
just
if he's a fan
drink
of
Guinness
musicals,
on his
I get
couch
it.
every night when he got home from work. So now every holiday or whatever, his wife will get him either like something Frozen or something Harry Potter.
Oh Jesus!
Holy shit! I don't know your brother, so Mark, I apologize. I gotta ask the question though. Were the fact that he was doing this and the fact that he was single, were they related? Because it sounds like they may have been.
They're not mutually exclusive.
I don't know if it was causation, but there was definitely correlation.
It's so
that
fucking
pickup
good.
line at the bar. You want to come back and watch Frozen at my place?
It might have worked, actually.
You know what? Might be worth a shot.
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh God.
Glad to hear that he's doing better though.
Oh yeah. Now he
Is he?
watches Frozen with his wife and infant daughter.
Oh, good. Well, okay,
He's got an audience for it now, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He
Oh,
puts
my
up his daughter for the first time. I've never seen this before. This is my first time. That's great.
Oh God. I don't know where that story came from, but I felt compelled.
I feel like that's like when you're like YouTubing, like looking at like reading, like watching YouTube, and you get to a certain point at like 1:30, 1:45 in the morning, you're like, you try and backtrace your decisions that led you to that point. You're like, how did I get to
You go
watching?
through your history and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You schedule an appointment with a psychologist. Like, I really need to talk to somebody because this is inappropriate.
Guys, I was looking for cat videos and I found out how to dress for a wet mill sim. So pretty happy.
That's
yeah.
right.
After you already had gone through one. So.
Oh my God, that was.
Dude,
and I still don't want to talk about it, but it was so wet. And you know what? I did watch your video on how to prepare for wet weather, and I am buying gaiters tomorrow. Not
Gators
a
are
question.
cash, dude. Gators are fucking cash.
Yeah,
One of our guys
I sure
ran like the
bought my
full
gators.
I think it was like late 90s, early 2000s, like an M81 Equix system.
you're talking
just
about
the wet.
Jim?
Yeah, he was just wearing the full wet weather suit, and I'm like, oh, look at this idiot. And then like 25 minutes later, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm so jealous. I want it. Oh, I'm so
Yeah,
cold.
dude,
I want it.
That was
that
wet.
event was fucking brutal.
That really
Any-
was, dude.
Recommendation for the chat and me on good gators? Anybody?
Outdoor
research.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like $80
think-
though. They're not cheap.
I think they do a lot of really good shit. I had I had one of their sleep
Yeah,
systems.
They make great
Fantastic.
stuff. Yeah.
Great stuff. I'll tell you that the new piece of maybe it's gear, maybe it's not. I picked up an Arc'teryx atomic hoodie, and that thing is the fucking truth, dude. Like,
I really want one of those actually.
Oh my
Arc'teryx makes great
God.
stuff.
It's like I mean, I've never had something that's like so light that feels like it's hugging you so tightly, and
it keeps
the
you
water.
warm.
Yeah, it's insane. Exactly. Yeah, buy once. I saw some pop up in the comments. Buy once, cry once. So good, so good.
Arc'teryx, Outdoor Research.
Yep.
Oh god, is it Wild Things? Wild Things Tactical, something like that. They make the low loft jackets and stuff like that. Those they should have.
Mhm.
Patagonia. A lot of those.
Is
Any
he
company.
Ott Gear? I know Ott Gear makes a lot
Gear
of
does.
gear and shit too.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
I
rain
mean-
gear is very, very
Spend
overlooked.
the money.
Because
Yeah.
honestly, like I probably would have enjoyed my time so much more at that really rainy event that we just went to if my boots, which are waterproof, were not soaked in the first 30 minutes. Like,
The problem with waterproof boots is the
Once you
second
start
that water
going through
gets
the
into
tall
them.
grass,
Yeah, it was bad.
yeah, it's the tall grass slapping against your kneecaps, and it just drips down into it, and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
That's right.
So,
yep.
I mean, I mean, gators are one of those things I just never pulled the trigger on, but now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I should wear these all the time. There's no question about it. Like, it's gonna keep you. It's gotta help. Can't hurt you.
Yep.
Oh, it's so clutch.
Well,
And it like helps keep you a little warm too, because it's like another wind layer on top
Yep.
of your calves.
Yeah, I'm looking at the outdoor research ones. I think I'm gonna.
I just spring for the OR ones, dude. I like, and it's funny because like I feel like when people like first enter the sport, like everyone kind of goes for like, picking up like a cheaper stuff. But like
Gondola,
the
stuff
advice
like
I've
that.
been giving people is like if you're really serious, like just get the stuff. Like okay, get your starter kit, but the next time you buy anything, like for example, like for my nod setup, like I went and did the full Wilcox setup because like for my theory, if I'm gonna mount like an expensive piece of gear to like my forehead, I want to make sure it's not going to fall off when I need it to not fall off.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, like I sprung for it and don't regret a thing. Don't regret it. It's gonna last forever.
Anything that separates you from either the elements or the ground, just don't cheap out on it. Just
No
boots,
nope.
socks,
or keeps your shit
clothing.
safe.
Yeah.
Sleep system.
Sleep
Super-
system.
Oh yeah.
Sleep
Right.
system.
People go to like, dude, when that really cold event for MSW back in November, there were people that were like, if you weren't in the town, you were sleeping on the ground, and some people
And
just.
if you're sleeping in the town, if
I
you're sleeping
slept
in
on the ground that whole
box,
event. I never set foot in a building that whole game.
Yeah. Well, guess what? The buildings were colder than it probably was outside because they're
yeah,
just.
do not sleep in those Connexes. It's a fucking freezer.
It was awful. It was terrible.
Yes.
I thought I was going to die.
I was the second night I was sleeping up on that hilltop, like out under the stars. It was wonderful.
Still cold though.
Oh, it was cold, but I had a great time.
Oh, hand warmers.
I am-
If you can get yourself one of those fucking hand warmers that hangs off your belt, invest in that shit. It keeps your hands so nice and toasty.
Those are nice. Those are nice.
That is another.
Everything you and Wes have told us about that event, Rabbit, I was upset. I'm no longer upset about missing that event. There was like absolutely nothing you told me about it being so cold. I actually like this. The hill fight sounded really, really dope.
It was.
But I just feel like at that point, like you're basically a walking, like you're just a walking icicle at that point. And I mean, how do you even function?
I've been to an event like that. It's the first Omega Productions event I went to.
Yeah, Desolation 1.
Desolation
Oh god, that
it was
brutal.
like 40 degrees and raining the entire weekend.
Eastern Front's weather, the AMS event that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Imagine that, but 40 the entire weekend.
That was
And
so cold.
we
That
were
was so
out
cold.
in it, like, no cover other than when we went under our tents. And I didn't have a tent, I had a tarp.
I had a tent,
That
but I didn't have a good sleep
sucks.
system. I had a whoopee. That was really fucking cold.
Whoopies are great, but they're not going to fight back. Like, and Ian, like, like real Ian, not fake Ian. Like you and I have both done this, right? Like, like I can absolutely go out there and be in the elements. I've done it, and I think that might be why I'm just like, fuck that. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm just. I'm
such a bougie bitch. I'm such a bougie bitch now when it comes to camping outside.
Yep.
Like,
I think it's like is part of getting older too. But like,
yeah,
I just like.
I mean, when I was doing cadre down at Saratov, like there were a bunch of people who were like, "Yeah, I'm just eating my MRE," and I was just munching down on a fucking quarter pounder with cheese from McDonald's. It's so good, dude. I had like 8
not
of
all of
those
us
in my
have
rucksack.
cadre privilege, you fuck.
Well, it sounds like a you problem, but yeah, dude, it's man, if you can bring some good morale building food and some warm clothing and just be nice and cozy the entire weekend, it's
Quick
just
plug,
makes
we
it
have videos on all of those things on this channel. So
That's right.
just go ahead and scroll through our massive back
Well, there are
catalog
plenty of
of
people who
like
go to those
however many
events.
hundreds of videos.
There are plenty of people who go to those events and they have like instead of just bringing regular food, they just go to McDonald's and get like 30 quarter pounders with cheese and just shove them in their rucksack and just eat them as the weekend goes on. It's not like it's gonna expire. It's fucking McDonald's.
It doesn't.
Yeah, but then like all your shit smells like quarter pounder, and like I love me some quarter pounders, but the last thing I want to do is like smell it on me for an entire weekend. But at the same time, it's delicious.
Yeah,
It would probably smell better than me.
I
do smell.
All right, fair.
Yeah,
I'm also like not gonna be like walking up behind you like sniffing you. I mean, unless you're like.
You,
I mean,
you
but
could if you want.
well,
you know?
post Nielsen West or
I don't
post any
judge.
event. This is why it's become part. Like, unless it's like a 45-minute drive or less. Like, get a fucking hotel after the event and either sleep the night or just use it to shower and get clean. Or if like you've got like a gym membership, to like fucking Planet Fitness or something like that, go to your local
Oh,
Planet
yeah.
Fitness closest to where the event is held and shower before you get in the car because you're gonna smell like fucking asshole for the entire ride home. And bring a change of
Literally.
clothes.
Yes, that's key.
Bring
Bring-
civilian clothes to change into.
Bring a garbage bag. Yes, obviously to clean up the field, but a big thing that I caught on to was when you're done with an event, whether it was really hot out or really cold out or wet or whatever,
Garbage
get a
bag.
garbage bag, throw everything you're wearing in that, seal that shit up, and put it
Yep.
somewhere away from the main cabin because there's nothing worse than wet clothes. Even when you like go shower or do whatever the fuck you're gonna do, there's nothing worse than just wet clothes sitting in the same car from Mississippi to fucking Pennsylvania. There's nothing worse.
Cannot,
Oh my God, yeah.
Cannot agree more. Having
Well-
those wet clothes just quarantined.
Ohio
like,
to New
in a
York when it
corner
was
of the
like
trunk.
85 degrees and like 79% humidity for the entire event, and like you might have changed, but you all still smell like you just did that for fucking 15 hours. It's like, oh god.
You smell like a fucking hockey bag.
Yeah, it's real bad.
Eric, Alf.
Hello, Alphonse.
Oh.
Thank you for complimenting my traps. I've been working on them, you know. And he said, "Okay, bye, uwu." All right, well, he did uwu at me, so now I don't know if I can ever forgive him.
Like a drive-by just to compliment your traps. That means your traps look super nice.
Apparently, I guess. Shit.
So I'm telling you to buy the
If it-
rugby shirt, man. Makes it look huge.
That's a key. That's a
Cool.
key function of any shirt is if it makes you look better than you actually are.
That's right. That's right.
Does it hide the keg and accentuate everything else? If not, then
Exactly.
don't wear it.
Oh,
I
speaking
need
of
to,
keg,
like, not have the gut, but have the arms.
if you're
shit.
watching right now
Oh,
and you're
God.
interested in buying one of the vast number of patches that I definitely overordered on,
What patch is that?
it's Task Force keg patch here. You know what? Let me flip my camera. real
Yeah,
quick.
your camera feed is mirrored as opposed to.
Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Get you one
There
of
it
these
is.
patches. It's based off the 10th Mountain full color patch. But $12. Hit me up in my DMs. I need to get rid of these because I've got like 160 of them left.
Oh, Jesus.
Holy
Vastly,
shit.
vastly.
I
overordered
already
this.
have 2, so like how many more can I buy?
Dog, I know.
I mean,
160.
yeah.
I made that mistake. I ordered so many of them.
They will sell out, I am sure.
Anyway,
I'm
yeah, guys.
I've been finding like speaking of over ordering and patches, like ever since we started running these events, like something that I don't think any of us anticipated is just how it kind of invades your personal space. Because there is like I'm literally looking at like 6 boxes of like our new tourniquets, which are actually we're pretty excited about them. So like instead of doing like traditional ones, like we're gonna issue players these at the beginning of each event, and they're gonna act as
Ooh.
tourniquets, but they also act as deadlights for each player.
Ah.
So
Okay,
these
how-
are our new tourniquets, but there's literally like 300 of them sitting in here, and I have to like
Ooh.
string them all. And most of my shed is now full of like boxes and shit. Do you guys have the same thing? Or do you have like a storage place where you keep all your stuff?
I've got so
My
much
shit
just
is
laying
kind
around
of
my house.
everywhere. Like directly across the wall from me is like a full closet where my normal people clothes occupy most of it, but there's just a whole corner and a gun cabinet just dedicated to airsoft shit. Then like random cabinets throughout my apartment have like bits of airsoft shit in them. And my whole storage space and my garage space is just all airsoft shit.
I kind of forget
Alright.
about it sometimes, but I'll be walking around the house and I'll just like see random pieces of just random shit that I've bought over the last like 4 years for airsoft, and I'm like, oh fuck, I own that. That's right.
Why is that in the China cabinet? Oh, whatever. It's fine. I found it. It was
Yeah,
so safe.
exactly, dude. Or I'll just like I've had times where I've forgotten that I've owned a specific gun, and I've gone into like a back closet or something like that. I'm like, oh, never use this.
You're so
It's
excited
like when
to
you-
get it, just forget all about it.
Oh, it's like when you open up your Steam library and you see like 5 or 6 $60 games you've just never played because you're just like, oh, I never got to that, and I should play that, and then like you forget about it again, and the new year goes by.
I mean,
I-
I don't understand. Like, I live in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in Pennsylvania, and I only have literally one room that's like mine. Like, it's my office. I work from home, so it's like my space. I needed to have this space, so I got away with that.
And it's filled with your shit, isn't it?
It is filled with shit. My entire closet filled with airsoft stuff. I have 2 cabinets. There's one right here which has a whole bunch of drawers. That's all like barrels and buckings and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm so organized and cool. I'm not. And the worst part is I still keep losing shit. I don't go anywhere. I go to
Yep.
events and I come home. I am missing my VFC Avalon. If anybody knows where that is, please let me know. I have no idea where that gun is.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's gone, disappeared. I'm sure I
jeez.
lent it out to somebody to be like, oh, my gun was down, and then I just forgot about it. But like, I shouldn't be losing a $350 gun.
No, that's not ideal.
No, dude,
No.
like,
It's
I will
not.
say this: when we have people over and like we're just we're showing off the house, and it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot to put all my stuff away, and they open the office door or something like that, and it just looks like there's several machine guns just laying around the fucking office.
Hanging out.
Yeah,
Hanging
dude.
out.
It's like, oh fuck.
Yeah, I don't know where that is. I have apparently 2 more helmets, bump helmets, that I didn't even know I actually fucking owned. Like, there's so much stuff that it just piles up and it doesn't
Yep.
stop. I'm like an airsoft hoarder at this point. I have a sick problem.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have that problem, unfortunately.
Yeah.
My
You know,
main goal is just that, like, my kitchen and my main living area and my bedroom need to mostly look normal.
Mostly.
My main goal, like, and my bathroom, like, those all need to look mostly normal, unless you like open a cabinet and see that there's camo in there.
I mean, you say mostly normal. I can't tell you the looks. Like, so we live in a neighborhood where there aren't like people like our age or whatever. And when I bring my gear out and I start loading it into the car, I gotta tell you, you get some really interesting looks when people are like, "Are you loading a machine gun into your car right now? Like, what are you doing with that?" And I'm like, "No, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
I'm in a full
No.
complex. When I
That's-
go out to the event, I bring like 3 guns and like Julie, my
You gotta buy
7
gun cases, my guy.
What?
You gotta get gun cases because I've invested in those, and I get far fewer weird looks from my neighbors.
Oh no, I've got them in gun cases. She's 75, but she's spry, and she's like looking at me like, "What are you doing?" I got a cry airframe walking in, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Just don't worry about it. It's fine.
Don't worry about it; it'll be okay.
It's a fake cry."
Yeah.
It's fine. It's totally fine. No cops have been called yet, so we're all good.
Luckily for me, my garage space is like just a very short hallway away from my apartment, and my neighbor, I think, is like an agoraphobic or something because he doesn't leave his apartment for weeks at a time. So I never see anybody in that hallway.
I've been over
so
to your
nobody-
place a lot of times, and I have never once seen any of your neighbors.
Yeah, I just had a real conversation with my neighbor of like 3 years for the first time today.
That's not
The
normal.
guy
yeah.
who shares my garage space.
That's not normal then. Like if you're sharing space, like yeah, that's.
We have
significant.
like opposite schedules, I guess. So like it kind of makes sense we don't run into each other. But I've lived here for like 3 fucking years. And I've never had a conversation with this man until today.
That's
not weird. Not weird at all. I mean, I'm an introvert, so like I think I actively avoid those
people.
conversations.
Yeah.
Like if I see them coming, I go the other way, and I'm like, no, wait, I forgot something in my apartment, and I go through the keyhole, and I'm like, okay, he's gone. Which is why I like having the house that we have, because like we have property, and I don't have to talk to anybody if I really don't want to.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, it's great.
It's amazing.
I'll be honest, I still wear a mask in the store sometimes just so people don't talk to me.
I like it was so weird when all that started first popping off, because like people would look at you and you're like you could literally curse someone out silently from underneath your mask and they'd never know the difference. I swear to God, I had a cashier do that to me once. Like I just I didn't do anything either. I was just like checking out, and I think my daughter kept she kept like pushing the cancel button on the card, and it was taking her a lot. And this chick was staring at me, and I swear to God, she must have been saying like horrible things. The way she was looking at me was horrible.
Yeah.
What's so like you guys are like, I think you guys said you're gonna hit up like MSW. What do you guys have any other events that you're trying to get to other than obviously like you guys come and hang with Brimstone?
Yeah, so right now my event schedule is in July, in like 2 weeks. There's 2 games that weekend I'm actually going to. There's Maelstrom, which is from the Halcyon Tactical guys out in Ohio at Sector 7. I don't know if you've ever been there.
No.
I committed to COing one of the teams for them out there, and then like 2 weeks later they announced that there was the Desert Fox game at EMR. So I'm going to the Saturday part of the Saturday is all of Maelstrom, and then I'm going to drive from Sector 7 to EMR to play the Sunday at Desert Fox. But then the next event I've got after that is
Seratov?
I mean, there's a Hee Haw at Zulu 24,
Right.
which is not a formal event. That is the opposite of a formal event.
I'm sorry. A what?
So a hee haw. Eric, you can explain it.
Hee Haw
Please.
with the fuck around gang. This is one of the guys who we staffed the Omega Productions games with. He was playing this Russian character at one of the Omega games. It was like trying to motivate a group of players to follow him on an attack. So like when he was up in the gunfight and shooting at people, he looked back at all the people behind him who were like kind of hesitating. He's like, "What are you doing back there? Playing hee haw with the fuck around gang?" And somehow that stuck. And now, like, when all the Omega staff guys want to like get together somewhere that they have no responsibilities, we call it a hee haw, and we just go to local fields, like whatever open play or shit is going on, and just
Shitballs.
wear the dumbest gear and
Oh
not
my
give a
God.
shit. And it's a great time.
That
Well,
sounds
it's because it's
incredible.
usually accompanied by a weekend of drinking.
Yes.
That
The
sounds-
last hee haw before COVID was, or excuse me, the Troubles. Trying not to, that's worse. Ah, shit. Ah.
It sounds like we're in like a young adult novel right now. Like there's some obscure, horrible
Yeah.
event that happened. The Troubles.
Before, yeah, before the world shut down, whatever you want to call it, the last hee haw was the night before. Friday night was the Acacia strain. Saturday was day drinking, and then a trip to a cigar bar, and then Sunday was airsoft.
It was a great time.
Goddamn. It sounds like a great weekend.
Yeah. So it's that type of shit. And then
That sounds...
and then my next event after that is the Saratov Resurgency. And then my September and October are like, September I'm not doing shit for airsoft other than Saratov Resurgency, because my brother's bachelor party is right in the middle of the month. Then there's all kinds of other shit going on. So Brimstone might be like my October event. Like that might be the event I go to in October is Brimstone.
I hope it's your October event. That'd be so good. I think you'll have fun. I really think we're trying to get the whole operational team that we have to go down to the Saratov Resurgency. We're trying to get all of our dudes to go.
It'll be a great time, man. I'm excited for it.
Spoiler warning: I am doing a black metal band for that. So if you want to see some god awful music played, you can come on over for that and buy our album and our merch.
You guys are gonna have I'm sorry, what? An album?
Yeah, we're recording a really terrible album, hopefully, before that game comes around, and we're gonna be selling physical copies of this album. The band's name is Turtle Dismemberment.
Nice.
Oh.
That's awesome. I want one of the shirts if you're doing shirts.
We're doing a very limited run of shirts, but I can make sure we squirrel one away for you.
I would love that.
What's your size?
Give me a large.
All right.
Okay, time out. I'm still on the black metal band. Do any of you actually play instruments, or is it just gonna be you like slamming on guitars?
We actually have 2 guitarists and a bassist, and I'm doing vocals. And then we have just MIDI drums because we're gonna make up because we couldn't find anyone who like could play drums and bring a set down.
Get up there and show these retards how it's done.
So we're gonna do the MIDI drums, and our joke the whole weekend is to be like, "Oh, our drummer couldn't make this tour, but he's a real machine."
Rabbit, you got comments on the drumming there, buddy?
Yeah, if you want me to record some drums for you, let me know.
Oh shit, I might have to hit you up for that then, because I don't know how the MIDI is coming with like the songwriting process. Because the 2 people who I like convinced to do, well, 2 of the 3 people I convinced to do this with me are like actually in bands, so they're actually like they're basically doing all the writing, and I can like kind of do metal vocals good enough for the meme. So I'm basically just along for the ride, like, hey, I'm writing some lyrics and I'll record whatever you need, but you actually know this shit. I'm letting you take over. It was just my idea.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
so funny.
If you want to send me the guitar and bass and everything, I'd be happy to do that. I mean,
my God,
if that's the case, then sorry, Doc, I might have to go be with them and
No, you just go on leave. Just go on leave, and you'll go.
Go on
play in the
leave.
band.
Go
on
play
leave.
drums.
Go play drums, and we'll come rescue you when you get captured by a bunch of insurgents and shit. It'd be great. It'd be a great emergent mission. There you go. See, we're making things happen. Bringing it all back together, full circle. Ian's gonna play drums, get captured. We'll rescue him. Done.
Yeah.
I've got
Drummer
some dumb
bacon.
plans
Anybody
for
in the
that.
crowd know how to play drums? Some NATO guys like, oh, pick me.
Come
Yeah.
on up here.
Oh my god, it'd be so funny.
What about
Let's
you
make that
guys?
happen.
What's your event schedule looking like?
So we're doing a thing in July. That's we're not allowed to talk about. So our July is kind of taken up. August, you know what, dude? It's like really, it's tough. Because like a bunch of our dudes, like I'm married, I have a kid. Our other guy, he's got 2 kids. So we're finding the more events we try and run, like that one free weekend we get a pass on is like used up on like something to support the event. So I think the next like really solid thing, we're trying to organize something, a team training, and trying to combine it with the field walk we're going to do for Panthera. So we're trying to like go and actually do like a training event at Panthera. Nothing official, like in August. But I think the Saratov Resurgency is the next big one we're all kind of focusing on. We might send a few dudes to Desert Fox in July to have some kind of representation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
And I think
Run TSS.
I mean, yeah, whichever one you guys are running, we'll send them over there. So tell us
I'm staff for TSS. Myself and Corey are both staff for TSS.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, they're actually like commanding the faction. I had to pass on it, unfortunately, but now they're in charge of it, so that's good.
That's pretty cool.
Ian,
So,
are
yeah,
you
we'll
going to be cadre for MSW or no?
Yes. Yeah, I'll be cadre for Saratov Resurgency, but not in. Actually, you'll find out. I will be cadre though.
Okay.
No spoilers, but he will be.
If you guys are going to
cadre.
Guardian Center, I will also be cadre there.
Which Guardian Center? When?
Oh, that's in December, but they haven't.
December 3rd.
They haven't technically announced it yet, but it's like an open secret. Like they tell everyone who asks, but they haven't announced it.
Yes.
Oh.
It's the first weekend of December. Guardian Centers,
my
Milson
God,
West Force on Force.
I might have to make that happen. Guardian Center is like I've heard nothing but amazing things, and like one of our like.
We're gonna be running NATO with TF Keg for it, so like come
fuck.
be in our platoon.
I'll go. I mean, I'll drive down there by myself if that's the case. I would absolutely love to do that. And I could definitely fuck you, Ian. Fuck you, fake Ian. No. I mean, that'd be awesome. But yeah, like honestly, that would be one because like there's enough distance between like us running Brimstone and that I think our hardcore dudes could get a pass. So I'm gonna hit you up for that one for sure. So I think Resurgency is the big one. Then we're running Brimstone, and the cool thing about running Brimstone is like going back to like the actual reason we're all like talking on this call, like the podcast, but like our staff, like the way we run our staff is like they're obviously controlling whatever, but they actually get to play. Like they act as the field commanders and they're like out there like playing. And because they're all actually players, like for all of them, it's like a really fun game. For like me and Rabbit and Mongo and the other guy, like the leads, like it's less fun. Still a lot of fun, but like we got like to actually make sure the game goes. But for our other dudes, like for sure they get to play. So they get to go play at Brimstone. We get to run it. And then, that's usually it. We're probably going to hunt something down, do like a training or something in November. But now that you brought up Guardian Center, I'm absolutely like going to mark the calendar for that one for sure. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be sick. I'm super excited for it.
I've never been to Guardian Center. I've only heard of like really good things. So
it's like the mecca of AOs from my understanding.
Yeah, I was at Caspian Gap back in 2016, which was right before Guardian Center like initially had shut down to airsoft for a while because they got a government contract. But now they're reopening over the last couple years, so cool shit.
Yeah, it's exciting, man.
I know. That's one of those AOs though that like for us, and that's the other interesting thing is like again, it's Brimstone's event number 3, so like we're still growing, and Panthera is like the first like major national level AO that we're running an op at, and it's one of those things like I don't want to run anything at something like GTI or Guardian Center until like. It's like the right time, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
and until you're like confident that know how to work in that type of environment, all that type of shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's not that like I don't think it's that we don't feel like we could run it. It's more like I want to make sure that if we run something at Guardian Center, like we have the the vehicles and the resources and the assets behind us to make it not just a great game, but like one of the best games that's like run there. So it's all about timing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Well,
wanna run a solid
and
event,
what
which I
event
mean, yeah.
host wants to host a mediocre game where like everyone's like, yeah, it wasn't as good as this other one. Like, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that. Especially at something like Guardian Center. You know what I mean? Like that's like just
Yeah, where there's
again,
so much stiff competition. A lot of people run great games there.
right, exactly. And it's just a great AO. So it's like if you don't do it justice, then even more so. Like the AO itself will pick any game up and take a mediocre game and make it a great game. But you want to make sure you're putting the right stuff in there. Otherwise,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Well, if you don't cater well to the AO, like, I mean, there's a couple of places I've been which are really cool AOs. It'll be really cool spots to play at, but like somehow something fell apart with the way the host ran it, and then it's like it's so tricky trying to find that balance.
And
just nothing falls apart faster than a good AO. Like if you don't have glue to keep it together, it's nothing. Because like we said early on, like a good AO does not make a good event. It can definitely help a lot, but if you have the bread and butter to go with it, you're golden.
Let me put it this way: I have seen games run at terrible AOs that were amazing games because every other ingredient was able to make up for it.
Yep.
And I've officially seen more great games run at terrible AOs than I have seen great games run at great AOs, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's because when people do that, they almost like rely on the AO to be the game, right? Like we were talking about, it's got to be more than just that. But I gotta say, I'm like super pumped. Like I'm gonna keep talking about it because like I definitely want to look into that. So I'm gonna keep my eyes open, and if I can't get anyone else to go with me, then I might like creep and piggyback on you, like literally piggyback.
Hey, that's fine. I'll swing by it because I have to drive through Pennsylvania anyway, so I'll swing by and grab one of you guys.
Excellent. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
All right. Holy shit. We have been going for
we just hit that
full 2 hours now.
Yeah, we just hit that 2 hour mark. Let's see if anybody in the chat has any additional questions. Also, my headset's starting to die. I forgot to charge it before this.
You know what? Before chat gets a chance to ask a question, I have a question because we have gone all podcast without talking about metal somehow, and now I got to bring it up. How did it come to pass that Jake from August Burns Red plays out of your team? How did that happen?
This is all you, Ian.
Yeah, so I've always been a big metal fan. My dad, who is actually one of our staff members, Jackal. If you don't follow him, check him out too. But shameless plug. Jackal got Max and I both into like pop punk, 4 Years Strong, stuff like that. And then we both, obviously, as individuals, Max and I went our musical ways. And Max played guitar, I played drums. I got into a metal band, and one of the first metal bands that I ever listened to was ABR, and they really were like the pinnacle of metalcore, I should say. Like they're a legendary band.
Yeah.
Well, Leveler and Constellations, like that era when I was like really into metalcore, like those two albums were like my music taste.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was like my favorite band. I've seen them probably 10 times, maybe more. And I went to their home show in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. They had their Christmas Burns Red show that they do every year. So the year that I went in 2019, I went, saw them. A couple days later, I was like, maybe I can find myself in the crowd. So I went on ABR's pictures on their Instagram, and then I clicked on Jake's profile, and then I saw that he had a kit. And he was wearing something, and then he saw a post about airsoft, and I was like, no shit, there's no way this guy plays airsoft. So I'm looking into it. Jake's girlfriend lives out in Finland, so he played some Milsim games in Finland, and
shit.
Badass. Okay.
It was New Year's Eve. It was New Year's Eve 2019, going into 2020. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, had a couple drinks in me. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna message this guy. I'm just gonna be like, hey man, talking nothing about music. And that was really the thing, is like I didn't really care about the music. I started up, I was like, hey man, big fan of the band. I am the president of a company called Grimnir Tactical. We train out here. It's not too far from where you live. any interest in coming to train and just play with us. Just like straight up, hey, do you want to come hang out? I didn't think this guy with 80,000 followers and being a metalcore,
being a fucking rock star,
legend.
Yeah, you think I was going to get a response? No. So I wake up January 1st, 2020, and I get a huge message back. Like, man, that sounds awesome. I checked out your Instagram and your YouTube and blah, blah, blah. I would love to come train with you guys. So we invited him out to a training that we had, and we were actually given the keys, not really the keys, but we were allowed to go train in this decrepit house.
Nice.
If you go on our Instagram and you scroll back a little while, they literally, we don't care. We're going to tear this place down anyway. We were kicking doors off hinges. Like, it was the place to train. It was.
Hey guys, just quick thing. We just lost audio. Wait one. Fuck. Hey guys, just heads up. We just completely lost audio. Wait one. Fuck. You know what?
We officially brought him in as ownership, and the rest has kind of just been history. I mean, he's been at all of our events so far, and unfortunately, with touring, not unfortunately, fortunately for them, tour music is back.
His tour dates are like during Brimstone, so obviously he probably won't be able to make that one.
No, he can't, unfortunately.
Oh well.
But he will be at many others, and he'll be involved in a lot of things. So. I mean, he was with us at the AMS event, the Eastern Front event. It was Doc, Jake, and myself there. So, I mean...
I didn't realize you guys were there until, I saw you post on fucking Instagram. I'm like, why did I go say hi to these dudes? I feel like such a dick.
It's all right. It was too wet. We couldn't have...
There were so many people there that, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was wet. Nobody wanted to be out in the rain more than they had to, but...
Yeah.
I mean, simply put, he's an awesome guy. You know, at the end of the day, he's Jake from Grimnir, you know?
Yeah.
And
I just thought it was so funny that, like, one day I was on the, like, I had kind of seen, like, here and there some posts about Airsoft on, like, his Instagram now and then. And then one day I'm, like, on my phone and I get a notification from the GunGamers Instagram. It just says, Jake Lurs, ABR, followed you. I'm like, yo, what the fuck? So weird.
One of my favorite games to play is watching the game I play is when are people going to realize Jake is Jake? It's like my favorite game to play at our events, and like when we're just hanging out, because like he's so like everyone loves what he does in the community. So most of the time when he's out there just hanging out, like I just sit back and I watch. Like the first time he met one of our boys on the team, he didn't realize it, and I kind of was like, you know, like they were just having a conversation.
Wait for it.
It came up like our boy was like, you know, well, what do you do for a living? He's like, oh, you know, I'm a musician. You know, I tour around. He's like, oh, cool. What band? And Jake was like, oh, it's this metal band called August Burns Red. And like our fan, we call him Kirby. Like Kirby, like literally his face dropped, all the color drained out, his eyes started watering, and he was like, they're like one of my favorite bands of all time. And I was like standing behind Jake. I was like, dude, play it cool, man. Like calm the fuck down. You're fine. It's one of my favorite things to do is to watch from people. But like Ian said, like to us, he's just, you know, he's just Jake. Like he just hangs out, and you know, we love having him, and he brings so much to everything. He gets so into the games. He was like actually pissed off when our other boy betrayed him at Captivist. Like actually pissed off. Like our comms were down almost the entire time. One of like the 3 communications that came through was, Maverick just fucking betrayed me. Like that, it came out like over the loudspeaker, like he's screaming into the mic over like the CFI net, and I was like, oh man, Jake's like really mad.
Yeah, when it sounds like he's doing vocals into his speaker mic, you know you pissed him off.
You don't even need to. You can just hear him from across the freaking air.
I was in a jail cell for the entire event, and he was so pissed off. He called me on my cell phone, which I just kept on me for like admin purposes. If there was an emergency, I was like, oh, I'll have my phone on me. He calls my cell phone. And he was like, dude, I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm really, really upset about this. I'm really mad. Wes just completely betrayed me. And about it, and I gotta go. And just hung up on me. And then I have no idea what's going on right now. I'm so disconnected from everything. But yeah, he gets.
Well, back to solitary.
Yeah. Exactly. Then the guards saw my phone. They took that. No, but he just gets really into it. And I mean, he's such a powerful person, and he really does bring so much energy and so much positivity to everything that he does. I mean,
very, very wholesome man for the angry music he produces.
Yeah, but
well, that's the trend with metal musicians, really.
Oh my god,
like,
yeah, I've noticed that.
I've never met a metal musician who's actually a shitty person, except that one time I met CJ McCreery, and then all that shit happened.
We're gonna pass that one over.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Tom Barber's pretty solid though.
Tom Barber's doing great, and now they've got Will Ramos and Lorna Shore, and David Simonich seems like a cool dude, so Signs of the Swarm's doing okay, so woo.
Wow, I haven't met somebody that listens to Signs of Swarms. That's a bit much for some people.
Oh, I fucking love those guys. I've seen them live like 3 times.
Yeah, they're pretty angry people, but I love it.
Oh yeah. But it's good. I like it.
So I've been on a good kick. I know we obviously wanted to talk about Jake, and yeah, I mean Jake, he's phenomenal. He's great, but and it's cool because we do share multiple like passions. Like I love metal music. Like I can say it to everybody. I've been to country concerts.
Well, that's the intersection I think is so cool.
Yeah. We have so much in common. Everybody has so much in common with the guy, and the guy is so. I've never met somebody that's busier. Maybe Doc, but this guy has a nonprofit called Heart Support. He has just opened.
He's got his gym.
He has his gym that he just opened called the Your Life Gym, which is such a cool concept. Mental health classes, whether it's for veterans. Yeah, it's a beautiful gym too. But they do like personal training. They have a full gym that you can be a member at.
Yeah, if I lived in the area, I would be a member there. It looks fucking great.
Absolutely.
Gym.
Absolutely.
100%. So sick. And once again, it's all about community, and that's really why we brought him on board. Is because he had so much knowledge and so much experience building communities. We want him to be a part of that foundational structure that we had, which is building our events in Grimnir, and we very, very commonly refer to our players as the Grimnir Tactical Family. Like, that's awesome. That's what we want it to feel like. So he plays a massive role in that. So yeah, good on him. He's a great dude. So we're very happy with that. But everybody plays a really key part in our team here. Like everybody brings something different to the table, and we all just really mesh well together.
And then you've got GunGamers, where we like drinking.
all different walks, dude. Everyone's got to have some kind of common.
Drinking, metal, and airsoft. You guys are right up our alley too. So that's
oh my god!
You should see some of the pictures we had from when we used to do. So when we used to go to the big paintball game at Skirmish USA called Invasion of Normandy, we go up there a week beforehand.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you want to talk about like metal, drinking, and combat sports, there was a little bit of that. It was. Okay. We'll have to show you guys some pictures. It was inappropriate. Not safe for work. A lot of Ranger panties. A lot of Ranger panties and a lot of beer.
All right, let's real quick just to wrap up the podcast. Let's get like there's 2 questions in the chat. Actually, 1 question. I'll just answer real quick. Belvini or Johnny Walker Black Label? I'm a Belvini fan.
Belvini, yeah.
Yeah. Both are good for that one. And then here's the one. Question for the group: is there a piece of gear you can't resist shopping for / purchasing?
Oh,
that was from Steven Novak.
Shopping for and purchasing are wildly different, though.
Yeah. Well, I guess like it's what's like the piece of gear you're always coveting, like a new one.
White Fox dual tubes.
Shit.
White Fox dual tubes.
That's something. Yeah. But like comms related gear as a whole, because there's so much like weird new shit out there that I constantly want to buy. Like, oh man.
I would say for me, it's probably chest rigs. I wore a plate carrier forever, and then actually through you guys learned about Engage Tactical, and
Yeah, buddy.
That's great stuff.
and I hit them up, or I hit him up, and he made me this God-clad M81 beautiful chest rig, and I got it specifically. I fought tooth and nail with Max, actually. I was like, I want the CFI to be able to wear some type of camo. I want it to be M81. Everybody gets their hand as a civilian on M81 at some point in their life. If you've ever been to a store. So I was like, this is perfect. Give us this camo. He approved it. We put it in the rule set, and I was like, I'm getting a custom chest rig in M81. And I got that thing, and I am like heartbroken if I'm on a faction at another event that I can't wear it.
It's badass, man. I mean, Matt makes some awesome stuff.
It's incredible. And then I love mine so much, I bought Doc one for Christmas. And
He converted me.
And he went from wearing plate carriers to wearing this chest rig. There's nothing better. Listen, it's airsoft. You don't really need plates.
No,
Sorry.
no.
But
I'll wear plate carriers for LARP cred or the impression, but usually, yeah, I'm wearing a fucking chest rig.
Yeah, I've got a couple of
I will say I still do love my Shellback Banshee. It is
Shellback
an
is good stuff.
incredible
I mean, that's a
plate
classic.
character.
yeah.
It's amazing. But the Engage Tactical chest rig, absolutely is amazing. Ian
And
converted me.
I have a Spiritus, and I have a micro by
Haley?
D3CRM.
yes, I have a Haley and I have a Spiritus. I have them fully decked out to every potential option I could put in there. Travis Haley's never going to see this video. I cannot even compare it to the Engage one. It's just
Being
the
able
most.
to
Well, the fact that you can get it like built from the ground up, custom gear like is kind of an unfair comparison to factory gear.
Yeah,
True.
one thing I'll give like the Gigar or Molder or whatever you ended up buying is that you can actually like carry a decent amount of shit in it rather than like with like a Mark IV or a D3 CRM where it's just tiny. You know, I like being able to actually have shit on me and actually be able to carry, multiple, like a first line and a second line. But yeah, man, Matt Hay makes some badass shit. I really do like Engage Tactical. It's awesome.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I guess chest rigs are my thing too. Although really at this point, I'm like kind of trying not to buy as much gear. The main thing I'm like having trouble not coveting is like fucking just weird clone gun builds. Well, I really want to turn my Crytek TR-47 into a clone correct Knights Armament SR-47.
Oh, nice.
Just nerd stuff. Yeah.
I buy stuff too. Like, I probably, besides our events, I probably play like 3 times a year with just how busy we are, and I have way too many. There's no reason for me to have this many.
Yeah.
And
But it's fun.
it is.
It's a weird collector side thing. Yeah.
It really is.
Yep.
Like I got a Crytek SPR. I sent it off to Amped Airsoft. They're doing a nice little build for me, so I'm getting a Kythera in it, turning into a DMR. I didn't need it, but I'm gonna get it.
But you wanted it.
I want it.
Exactly.
You treat you, King.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, God. All right. Should we have a really good question here, but I kind of want to save it for a future podcast because otherwise we're going to be here until like 11.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go
I'm
ahead
good
and
with
call it here just because
Maverick
otherwise we're gonna
Entity,
lose
I
audio.
promise I'll record your question and we'll discuss it in the next podcast. We're just coming up on like almost 2.5 hours now.
Yeah. Well, it's still not as bad as the fucking 24-hour live stream. That being said, yeah, man, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it, guys.
What
Oh, thank you guys.
Where can everyone find you guys? Social media plugs. I know we did some at the beginning, but
You can find us on Instagram if you have questions for us. Facebook's a shit show, so hit us up on Instagram. We typically get back to people within 30 minutes to an hour maximum. Sometimes it's like weirdly instant, and people don't see the message because it comes back so fast. So hit us up on Instagram. It's at Grimnir Tactical. You can find us on Facebook, and our website is www.grimnirtactical.com. Beautiful website that's put up there, thanks to Doc. And it has all the information you need, what kind of events we have, our rule set that you can download or view. And then also a big thing, if you want to get into it and lore is really right up your alley, and it'll definitely help your experience if you decide to come to one of our events, check out our YouTube, look at our Soul Wars series, and just kind of follow the story that we spend a lot of time and effort making videos for.
Hell yeah.
All right.
GunGamers Podcast, episode 31 with the boys from Grimnir Tactical. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we
Wait, hold on.
not live? Oh.